Yes, we're live. Good morning, good evening, depending on where you are. Welcome to this episode of The Shit I Like.
Can you hear me?
Hey.
Just put in my headphones. Just a sec. Microphone check, 1, 2.
What is this?
I'm detecting a camera on my laptop.
Would you? Which really made it taste good, really. Don't know if that all.
No, do you know what? I'll
Yeah, so that's Duane getting set up. He's on mute right now, and we're waiting for Richard. I've lived life that's full. I had to find out the rest of that song. For those of you just joining in, this is The Shit I Like, and we are currently chilling. Waiting for Duane and for Richard to join in. Huh.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep, I got you.
I don't know what's going on with this. There we go. Yeah, I guess I just had to restart.
Et voila, there you are.
All right.
Was it Chrome browser thing?
I think so.
Yeah. Happens to me all the time. I think maybe once a week I have to restart it, and it's at the most inopportune times. Inopportune. Where is our boy Sneaks? Why are we always waiting?
I don't know. See, I didn't want everybody waiting on me, so I said, "Yo, let's bump it,
Yeah.
bump the time a little bit, you know."
Yep.
But who knows? Maybe he's doing a whole bunch of research or something. Sneaks research.
Do you want to ping him or shall I?
You go ahead, man.
Because I tried him on Hangouts. If I try him again now on text. You know, I don't have his new number since he's back, actually.
Hold on a sec. So what's going on over there while we're waiting?
Just relaxing. Wifey's about to go to bed. Baby girl's asleep. She'll likely be getting up in the next hour and a half, 2 hours.
Mm.
That's it. That is it. Getting ready for tomorrow. Just regular life. Well, I think you're frozen, by the way.
Yep.
Hmm.
I think if I if I click it and then click it back, it usually unfreezes. Usually.
Turn off your camera, turn it back on.
Yeah.
I'd ask you how the game was and everything, but I'm trying to keep that to the content that I want to capture. Okay, if you have his new number, do you want
to? You see the date?
Yes. Oh boy.
You know how many times this book has been slated for being thrown out? I'm like, yo, give me my book, man.
Just in case?
Not even just in case. Like I could probably put this in the Canadian Hall of Fame, the CFL Hall of Fame. 81?
Do you want to ring or text Neek since I don't have his new Toronto number?
I just sent him a text.
Okay. I'd say give me the number, but since we're on live broadcast on the Hinternet, do you want to do that? Put his stuff out there. Interwebs. Whoa. we said?
Maybe he's doing CrossFit.
So there were confidence 25.
Yeah, this is like it's freezing every minute.
Is something going on? Is everybody on online at the same time?
I don't think so.
We don't really need the video. We just do the video because we can, and just the means for recording, but we don't really need it.
See, I can pick my nose and then nobody has to see it, right?
just on your side. 95% margin of error. 5% margin of error. So we need 373 people to complete this survey.
There we go. I went full Canadiana. Oh, it's frozen again.
Yeah.
Damn.
Whereas I was just wearing a t-shirt and baby girl when feeding spit some stuff up on me. So I just reached into the closet and grabbed something.
Oh, just a little something I threw on.
Quite literally. Reach it, throw this out, throw this in the throw this on. Yeah.
Yo.
You're on mute.
You muted, Doug. Unmute your thing, man.
Unmute the thing.
Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What's going on, gentlemen?
Hey, we were holding off on major conversations until you joined. By the way, your backdrop looks very different.
What? The closet closed, things organized.
Yeah, it's getting there. You know, I switched up the room about 3 times. I have like the vinyl set is already finished. The decks are ready. The studio's almost finished. I got the production lab in the corner that's going to be done. And then I'm going to put some foam backing on here just for sound stuff. And then I can do some edits. I got some voiceover stuff I got to do. So got to be prepared at all times.
Nice.
So what I want? This guy with tickets and thing just rolling through CFL games like a superstar.
Yo, that was my birthday gift, guy.
Oh, real?
Yeah, man.
Nice. I see Bubba came down. That's dope.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in a minute. I have to catch up with him in the city or something now that I'm back.
Yeah. So he works on Front Street.
Oh, yeah.
And he lives off of Front Street, and walking from his workplace to his home, I would pass by him from my office going down to Union Station. And every time, either I'm running to catch something or I'm running to catch a train. Really, it's all that it is.
Oh, it's always like a crossing real quick.
Yeah, but I think we've bumped into each other without planning it. I want to say 8 or 9 times, and every time, hey, let's catch up. And then we try, and one morning is bad, and next day is this, and
it's family or something else
it's crazy.
Something else. Yeah. It's all good.
It's literally
adult life
all the time.
I think I bumped into him a couple times, like when I was crossing through the mall a couple times. Like we're just like, yo, it was like, yo. Those things like real fast. So
Duane's on mute.
Yeah.
You know the people here are, man.
That's true. Actually, I put you on mute the first time.
You got a nice crispy mic there, bro.
You like
that? I didn't even notice.
Yeah, what? Upgrade.
It's crispy.
Wow. And we all have the same microphone now. Okay, so this definitely has to be something sponsored by these microphone people.
Yeah, we can find that out. You know what I mean? If I get savvy, we're working on something with Roland and a couple other things. So once we get the headphones will be probably V Moda, a couple other things that tech wise and giving wise, some things to give away. So, working in the background, we're going to make this thing pop. And I'm taking some time to listen to this last podcast because I really want to make it so that we actually, we have, between all of us, we think we have enough links to do some really cool sponsorship stuff, even if it's like them just giving some stuff, no money yet. But in order for us to have that look and get those kind of people interested, we really have to lay this thing out. So I'm starting to think about little breaks and then music interludes when somebody says something, even though you guys wouldn't know about it, it would just come up. Like we'll mention something and I might, if I'm savvy enough, I can edit something in it. You know what I mean? Yep. So I think that would make it a little bit more interesting. And, I also see that there's probably not everything that's going to go in. Mm-hmm. I just think some things are just and cutting out spaces. That's a whole other thing too. I think that helps. But I don't want to, again, we want a free flow, right? So we don't want to edit ourselves too much, I think.
Agreed.
So yeah, man. So what's going on other than that? So what's the topics this week where we said we're going to talk about?
I think it has to be timely given Duane took out his memorabilia. Show it again?
No, the Sneaks didn't see it.
What?
Where did you get that?
Yo, from 81, guy.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
That's on the cover.
So for the benefit of others,
Warren Moon.
What would you describe it, Duane?
The book is called...
we on now? Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're always on.
All right.
Canadian Football 81, written by Terry Jones.
Yeah.
On the cover is Warren Moon, the MVP of the Grey Cup in 1980.
Nice. So
it's got...
I
basically,
remember that game.
It summarizes the teams, the rosters. It's pretty well done.
Nice. By the way, you may have to describe it again because we haven't introduced the show yet. But maybe we leave a pause and one of you guys introduce the show.
Okay. Hey, what's going on, gang? This is Duane. Name it out. What's the name of this show, man?
The shit we like.
It is
the shit I like.
Shit we like. Welcome. I am Richard Dixon, aka Rich Neeks. We're just gonna go by Rich Neeks. I'm gonna stop saying my full government name because I ain't into that government name thing. But we got my man Greg Fields in the field.
That's right. My slave name, though it's never a slave.
And my man who set it off here, my man Duane Barker, king of the football, not football. So we in the house, and I guess we took some time out this week to enjoy a few things, family life, work life, and we're gonna jump right into it. The CFL had the Grey Cup this year in Ottawa. 105 years for the CFL.
105, yeah.
And 150 for Canada in general. For those of my American friends who are not in tune with the Canadian date of birth, we're 150 years old. So it's a very significant thing. So obviously they had the CFL in Ottawa. It would have been nice to have the Ottawa team in the finals, which was close, but no cigar. But you, Duane, got to go to this game. How did that happen? Is this you holding back on this guy? You got some?
No, there's not no stash of cheddar or anything like that. It was just one of those. It was a big year for my birthday, and wifey decided that she was gonna pull the trigger on a not necessarily a once in a lifetime thing, but
true,
but something special, right? Something you don't get to do every year. And I think the last time it was in Ottawa was 8 or 10 years ago or something like that. It's been a while. It's
been a long time, right? I think I was when I was on my first game. Tony Gabriel was still playing.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, watch that name now. I'm aging myself, but good God, yeah, that was my first CFL
Yo,
game. I had just come to Ottawa. I went with Jason Finley, who's like one of my mom's best friend. That's her son, and we got. They used to do these end zone tickets.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
Like cheap,
the fun zone, man.
the fun zone. And I think was it pizza, or who was it? Was it Loblaws? I
It
can't
was
remember.
Loblaws at the time, and then
I think it was Loblaws was doing those tickets, but they were dirt cheap. But you were like, if you're just a kid, you just go like it's the end zone tickets. It's like
Yeah.
whatever, but they're amazing. That was my first game. That was crazy, and we walked home. That just throws me back. Yeah. So it's funny because it's awesome that you got to go to that game, because every time I think about the Grey Cup, I always think about my friends and all of us all getting together. It always seemed to be a bigger event for me than the Super Bowl. I don't know why. I just think that we were just that much more involved. You know what I mean? Like
The funny part about the Grey Cup and what I noticed, even like being an older participant, right, walking around, like it's all inclusive. Like I saw people that like from like 5 to 95,
right.
right, and everybody's decked out in you're either wearing whatever team you support, regardless of whether they're playing or not.
Yeah,
Right?
which
So-
is amazing. It's like a World Cup all in the stadium without leaning to one team or another.
yeah, and there were two guys from the Northwest Territories.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
they not just from there, but they traveled to come to
They
the game.
traveled to come to the game.
Wow.
And
That's
like,
far.
there were people from all over the country. When I say all over the country, and like I was blown away by the inclusiveness, man. Like it was a sight to see.
Now, how did you know that they're from Northwest Territories?
They were wearing white snowsuits that had the polar bear with NWT on it.
Oh wow.
And, like everybody, they'd walk by, like, so they were wearing matching suits, and people walk by, hey, where you from? Blah blah blah. So like people were friendly, like no shenanigans of any kind, right? Because there's ladies, women, kids. Like it was amazing, man. I really enjoyed it.
Oh man, I'm just
And the
thinking.
game.
I'm thinking of Iqaluit, going from Iqaluit all the way down to Ottawa to
Yeah.
watch
I
the
don't
game.
think people understand. It's not even the distance, because people travel far. It's just how you have to fly. Like it's small as planes in the middle of nowhere to get to Ottawa, of all of any place you think about. It's far. That's really
Well, I
far.
think it's
It's a hard travel.
yeah. Is it a plane? A small plane?
It's like
down to
propeller jet.
Winnipeg. Yeah,
Right.
down to Winnipeg, and then from Winnipeg. That's it. Yeah.
That's
Well,
far.
I have a friend that lives in Hay River, and he says it's basically planes, trains, and automobiles to get to a major airport.
Fam, you got to get on a. Okay, hold on. Your morning consists of this: you pack up your bag, you lock up your cabinets all the way tight so that no bears can get in. Then you get on your snowmobile. Okay, I'm not even playing. You get on your snowmobile, or somebody give you a hitchhike on their snowmobile or their pickup. You get to wherever you need to get to in order to get to a plane, which I'm sure is not very close or very convenient. And then you get on this plane that some of these planes are like war planes. They're not that new, but they're the best planes for up north. It's a pretty amazing, to think how far these guys have come in the kind of transportation. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Anyway, the game was amazing. So the atmosphere was amazing. The game was amazing.
I was watching highlights of the thing because I'm like, I just moved back here and I wasn't really watching it too tough, but so I was watching the last part of the game and I was like, man, the energy in the stadium and the closeness of the game was, I mean, he was almost better than anything we've seen in like a few NFL games in a while, except for that crazy comeback, unfortunately, last year. Let's not even get into that. But yeah, man, wow. Like people were in their like, you know what's amazing? If you check Facebook, like all the people who are in, like, the snow is coming down and there's nothing but pure like grins on their face. It's the only town where it's snowing and you would think, oh, the game's gonna be ruined. It's like snowball. Everyone's like, yeah. It was amazing. There wasn't anybody like, oh, it's too cold, pure grinning teeth. Like, it's pretty cool.
We got to the stadium about 75 minutes before all the pomp and the kickoff and stuff like that. And the people that were in the stand, like everybody was prepared for the cold. Right? If it was double long johns, double socks, a toque, gloves, right? Big parka, hood, everybody was ready. And people were double fisting their beers too.
Of course.
Wait, of course. I was, this is indicative of true Canadians. I'm walking down Queen Street. I'm on my way back, and it's kind of getting chilly and cold. And I go to the Starbucks, and there's people outside sitting on the patio. It's like -5 or whatever, and then there's this really chilly wind that's coming through every once in a while. People don't business.
Yeah,
they're like, and what? You know what I mean? So it's like when Canadians know that they're gonna go to a game, and it's outdoors, they're like, yeah, we're just gonna prepare for this. We're just gonna wear 10 pair of this. You know what I mean?
So I had, like, what I put on. So I had 2 pairs of socks, one thick kind of wool pair of socks, and like a set of sports socks. Right? And then I had some like athletic tights, and then over the athletic tights, I had a pair of long johns.
You tuck your pants into your socks too?
Yeah, guys.
Of course he does. Of course he did. That's like a Tuesday for you.
Yeah, it's killing me.
For those who don't know, Duane normally carries extra socks. He's wearing long johns, the blue ones rolled up into the socks.
Yep.
It's -1. He's just getting prepared.
He's the Jamaican that like lets you know that he's Canadian, but he's not letting go of the fact that it's still damn cold.
Yo, one minute story. The reason why I'm like that, when I was 10, let me tell you this. I was 10. We lived in the west end of the city, and from the house that we lived in, right, you could look outside the door and there was a skating rink, right? So we would all go and play hockey. And me and my 10-year-old bold self said, I'm going to go out with, like, I was bundled up and everything. And I went to the rink, and we were playing for probably 4 or 5 hours, right? But as you're playing, you're getting hot. So I see all these, like, people that are used to it take off their jacket, take off their gloves, take off their hat. I said, well, I'm not really going to take off my jacket or my gloves, but I'm starting to sweat, so let me take off my hat. And it felt all right. The little cool breeze, it caught me. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm skating. We're playing hockey. We're playing. Little did I know, my ears are freezing up. So I got the worst frostbite on my left ear. It's
like almost blackened.
I couldn't feel it, and it swelled up to twice its size. And I went inside, and it burned.
Oh my God!
For probably 2 days.
Oh my God!
So I have a Ferengi ear. If you watch Star Trek, I got this big ear on my left side. And it's burning. I took a shower, it burned. I put a hat on. Anything that scraped it burned. The skin all peeled off of it. From then I said, I am never, ever, ever getting caught off guard again. Ever.
Yep. There you go. There you go. There you have it.
Since we just took an aside, we need to take one more aside. Okay, I do not remember all this, so Duane, you have to help me out. How did I get my Ferengi ear?
Oh, that's a drunken story.
Oh no!
But you only have a minute.
Dry snitch. Let's go.
That's a drunken story. We were drinking. It was the first time that we dipped into Johnny Walker Red Label,
Oh boy!
and it was going.
Y'all in the territory I don't know nothing about.
We're all in the kitchen, and we're passing around the bottle. Right?
Which kitchen? Where were we at?
We were at our friend Deesh's house.
Oh God. Okay.
So we're passing around the bottle. Everybody's doing right. A 1 minute shot, pass it on. 1 minute shot, pass it on. Or sorry, just a quick shot, 1 ounce shot. Greg decides that he's going to be the man's man, and tries to drink a third of the bottle.
Fam.
And then it looks like, what you got? About 35 minutes later.
Just hit you, right?
Greg,
that was bold, Greg.
I have to get the answer. I have to get the story from Duane. I don't remember any of it.
Wow, that bad? You just remember sitting you don't even remember where you were when it happened?
No.
Oh my goodness.
But how did the ear happen though?
So the story of it. So everybody's still in the house, right? Everybody's drinking this and that, and still having a good time. And we're like, where's Toonie? Toonie was wearing, I remember, it was like a long Matrix-like coat, trench coat.
Yeah, okay.
And he just wandered out of the house. So when we're starting to look for him, we're like, okay, somebody's got to go like check, like, is he outside? Did he fall down? Is he downstairs? And it's a decent sized house. So we're searching all over the house, and then we kind of went outside in the garage. And can't find him. Couldn't find Toonie for 3 hours. And as he's coming back in the house, right, stumbling, and he does a side, like, ear first face plant into the house as he's coming back in.
Holy smoke.
And we're like, yo, he's dead. Oh my God, he's dead. Yo, Deesh, right. Call the paramedics.
Call paramedics? Oh my God.
Long and short of it, we dust him off, stand him up, and everything is good except his ear.
What's up?
Which is busted up and swells up to Ferengi size. And we're like, nah, man, you're good.
Have you ever seen those guys playing Australian rules football or rugby?
Oh yeah,
they're in the 8, or their ears are pinned back normally because they can avoid getting their ears mashed up. Yeah. That's what it felt like, and that's what I don't remember anything Duane said, but I remember feeling it the next day and looking at it, and I wore like an old man hat to try to like make it less apparent
that it was all swollen.
And the old man hat covered a third of your ear.
Wow.
It swelled up so big. Like, we were scared.
Thought for sure they're gonna have to cut that off.
Oh yeah. And they could have cut off half of it and he'd still have a regular size ear.
Ferengi ear. Man.
Wow.
All right. So back to football. So on television, it looked like there was like a Zamboni out there clearing off the snow.
Oh yeah.
Cutting lines.
Yeah. So they were marking the hash marks. So the Zamboni was marking the hash marks.
Are you serious? It was an actual Zamboni?
It was like
it's like a big snow blush thing.
Yeah,
it's like massive,
big brush in front of it. Actually, two of them, even the hash marks, were like the little John Deere tractor with a snowplow.
All right.
So they'd clear that, and then on the yard lines, they had the volunteers with shovels. So 2 or 3 per every 5 yards, and they'd run across every stoppage in play and clear it out. And then they had guys with like leaf blowers blowing off the yard line, so the number, and the sponsors, because you got to make sure the sponsors.
Of course, they paid enough money for this thing.
Exactly. And then when there was like a major break in play, that's when they'd bring out like the big kind of Zamboni looking thing and like clear it off. But it was, It was an experience, man. Good vibes.
Yeah, it just seemed like everybody was really having a good time. And the one thing that is, I'm part of another group on WhatsApp. Those guys were like, this is a really entertaining game. Like, people really were dialed in. Like, it was just very entertaining. It wasn't, like those boring games. You're like, oh, this is just gonna be a blowout, whatever. Just a lot of high drama.
And everything, because the first quarter, like they were just kind of getting used to like getting their footing and this and that. Like, so the offenses were not stagnant, but there wasn't a lot of like big plays or anything like that. And then the second quarter, like you could see all right, this is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna do it. And that's when Calgary kind of started to pull away. And I was like, yo, it's Calgary's game. And then the Argonauts just it fought their way back in, man. And it literally came down to the last second. It was unbelievable.
Wow, that's awesome. What a great game.
Well worth a rewatch, man. Anybody that hasn't seen it, definitely sit down and watch.
I'm definitely gonna take the rest of the game. I caught the tail end of it.
And Shania Twain looked good.
She free up now. So when she doesn't have that. What was the controversy? So she broke up with her dude because he was sleeping with her best friend, and as revenge, she'd take her man and left with him. I don't know. I'm like,
it was some kind of like Melrose Place case.
Yeah, some drama, real TV drama thing, man. I'm like, I get it. It's all good. But yeah, she's like free up, and she had some record stuff going on. I think she's just kind of free of all that stuff. So
I think she was trying to get, like, she was in a contract and trying to get out of it, and that's not the other thing, and sort it out. For a mature lady, she looks very, very good.
Oh yeah, for sure. How old is she? She's in her 40s, right?
She's out of her 40s, guy.
Whoa.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No way.
Yo, Google
so then, yes, man. Maybe she's just close to touching. They can't be.
Yo, Google it. I'm gonna tell you.
Well, as someone Googles it, I was watching a little bit of the game, thinking.
Were you watching with people?
No, I was flipping back and forth. This is the terrible part. I was flipping from Miss Universe.
Oh yes,
Jamaica got robbed, guy.
Jamaica got robbed.
Her final answers were stupid. They were not good answers.
Yeah.
South Africa, Trevor Noah's girl, took care of business. That there almost needs to be a rule in place that the Grey Cup can only happen in cities with a dome. Or every city has to have a dome.
No. Part of the reason why it's because you can't. Once you take the elements out, right? It's too sterile, man.
Yeah.
It's too sterile.
After which, it's just called football.
Well, I mean,
I don't agree, man. I don't agree.
Joking you to see what happens.
So before we carry on, Shania is 52 years old.
She's 52?
52 years old.
Wow. Should dip on it.
Yeah, man.
So there's this great, the internet is amazing sometimes. And then sometimes not. I posted some stuff that's really bothering me today, but this Miss Universe.
Jamaica got robbed, man.
Somebody posted it while like the typical Jamaican that would be watching, when they watch like a cop show, or they're watching the they're watching like the Miss Universe, and they're commenting on every single time that Miss Jamaica or whatever hero comes up that they're really into, and it's like, yeah, go on with it, and like let me see if I can slightly play this here because I think it's hilarious. Yes. And Steve Harvey said, "Booyaka, booyaka."
Yeah. He had nothing else to say. Afterwards, he looked at the judge people and just, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, he didn't know what else to say.
I love your country and go there lots.
Yeah, yes. Love your beaches. Yeah, that was it's amazing. People keep commenting on it. I've seen good and bad. But people keep commenting on the fact how natural she just kept her hair, like, regular, not an extra
Yeah.
heavy, no weave. You know, if she just her natural way that she came up on stage and looking, carried herself really, really well. Last couple, I agree with Greg. Last couple questions were like, but she really carried herself, and the outfits were like,
Yeah,
Oh,
the
that
evening
that
wear.
yellow gown
she
Exactly.
smashed it.
especially especially relative to everybody else, which was white or silver, a
Yeah,
little bit of gloss, and then you
yeah,
had like
safe
something
stuff.
blue, and
Yeah,
then she
very
came out
safe.
what?
Yeah, she just came out like,
Yellow.
blah.
She had a
Yeah,
little
but I
Grace
mean,
Jones thing going, don't
I
you
always
think?
say black people can't wear these really bright colors if they want to, right? Like, you just can go for it. Your dark skin's gonna goes with everything, so like, you're good. So why not? You know what I mean? But she totally stood out. That's not usual, like, for somebody, especially for an evening wear, to come out like with that.
Yeah.
Not that I ever remember as a kid watching with my mom. That's for sure.
But even though I was rooting for the South African girl, I wanted that Miss Philippines to get in
It's
there because
Philippines.
the Filipinos, she looked like she wasn't from the Philippines, but she was just beautiful.
Yeah, nice.
Just
I
beautiful.
I saw a few people that I thought that could have made the cut, but I thought Colombia was going to win.
Yeah, when she
Just
cried. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I mean, she had she kept it together the most through the end. um, but it should have been Jamaica or Colombia. So
Jamaica.
I mean, come on.
Jamaica.
Yeah, listen, biasly, of course, but
now
technically,
I walked away thinking, all right, why did I spend like an hour watching this? Because in the end, it's extremely superficial.
oh, that's why a lot of people were like, I see everybody jumping on the bandwagon of watching Miss Jamaica all of a sudden. I'm like, well, to be honest, a lot of people aren't into pageants anymore. It's not. We know too much now, and we're glad that people celebrate and ask better questions other than and then have the same answer, peace in the world and blah blah blah. Like, there's some very intelligent women who are coming up on this thing, who are doing some amazing things and causes, and go to university or helping their community in some way. And I think that's what's changing the narrative, and maybe more people will be interested in that way. But for a while now, especially ever since the Trump thing, we're like, not really that into it. But it's nice to see that it's changing in terms of what is considered beautiful or beauty, or the spectrum is changing. So I think that's good. That's great for kids who are growing up, feel like they can also be part of the party.
Yeah.
So that's my rant on Miss Jamaica and Miss Universe.
So, D, was there a standout player in the game, in the CFL Canadian Football League Grey Cup?
The player that got the MVP was the corner from the Argonauts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember his name, but he's the one that picked it off and
I turned back.
I'm sorry, it was the fumble recovery, and he ran it back 106 yards to put the Argonauts ahead.
Everybody's saying that they got lucky to win this game based on Calgary's run and Toronto's obvious win, but they're like, there's a lot of banter like, wow, this guy's got lucky. Do you feel like it was leaning towards Calgary the entire time, or did you feel like it was more leaning towards?
At the beginning of the game, I put it out there. I think Calgary is going to win.
Right. Okay.
And then at halftime, I was like, I'm pretty sure Calgary is going to win.
Right.
And with 3 minutes left in the game, I was like, yo, it's a wrap. Calgary has this game.
Yeah.
And then the Argonauts pulled it out. And people, it was one of
people are going to their cars. They're like, yeah, it's done.
No, and so after the fumble, right? So Toronto now goes up by 3.
Right.
Right. So Calgary has the ball and they're coming back and they get themselves in scoring position. Right. In field goal position. Right. So they have 3 chances, 3 downs to either get the ball in the end zone or kick a field goal. Right. And on second down, they go for the end zone. And that's when it got picked off. And the conversation I had with my boy Bubba, my sidekick for the game, because he said, "What do you play safe, go for the tie, and then go into overtime, right? Like giving yourself a second chance, or do you go for the win, right?" And of course,
you're a coach.
My football ego said, "Go for the win." But if I'm the coach and I know what's going down, we're gonna run the ball and get it center, right? Get a couple yards, get it nice and center, and kick the field goal. Go for the overtime. Like that's when you talk about percentages and this and that.
Right.
There's more chances to go forward and more chance to succeed if you tie it and go into overtime. Right? But me and my football ego said, "Yo, man,
just go for it."
Yeah, go for it. We do it. And they went for it and they threw a pick. But everything fell, like the wheels fell off. They're the Buffalo Bills
Major.
of the CFL.
Uh-oh.
Major.
Uh-oh.
3 times.
And every
Google
year,
it, kids. Google it, kids. I still can't believe that. I'm sorry. Every time I think about that, I'm like, how, Sway? How?
It defied logic. I ain't gonna lie. It defied logic because I was like, "Yo, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Like, where's the shuttle? It's a wrap."
Yeah. Oh man, the Buffalo Bills. How does that happen? Wow.
No, and the Buffalo Bills, like when you looked at their roster,
what?
Like
superstars.
They were unbelievable, but they couldn't win the big game. They couldn't win that final game for whatever reason.
Great quarterback, great linebackers, great everything.
Cornelius Bennett.
Oh my God, Cornelius Bennett is a beast.
Bruce Smith.
Furman.
Oh yeah, Thurman Thomas. Jim Kelly. Can't remember their fullback. No, they were just stacked to win. And Hall of Famer head coach Marv Levy. And they were just like built to win every game except the last game.
So
sounds like the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah.
Where you go there, man?
Wow.
Okay, bring it back to
Cold
football.
for icing, Greg Fields.
Bringing it back to football then. I find the CFL less interesting to watch than I do NCAA football.
Well, so it's interesting that you brought that up.
Yes.
Because I feel the same way. There were years where I would literally watch the beginning seasons of the NCAA football season and hardly watch any NFL season. Yeah. And the reason is because when you're that young and you're chasing after getting to the NFL to actually play in the NFL, the speed and intensity of these games are beyond understanding. When you get to the CFL, for a lot of guys, that's like second chance that you didn't make it to the NFL. And for some guys, it's going to be their best and only choice to kind of play in the Canadian League. Look, I like the CFL. I'm glad that we actually have a league. I'm happy. I'm
you
glad.
Danced back from love to like.
No, I like. I'm not going to say I love. I like that we have a CFL league. I love the fact that Canadians support it because, to be honest, we gotta have support sport in Canada somehow. It's got to start somewhere with different types of sports. But that said, watching college ball is like miles ahead. You're looking at kids who are hungry for a contract. What else would you do but go out there and be savage? What else are you gonna do? You're going for it. This is it. And the atmosphere at those schools, good or bad, is incredible. When you hear the amount of money that those guys, forget about the money, the amount of people that come out to those games, the cheerleaders, the rallies, the people that travel on buses to go to other schools to go watch their teams play, it's huge. You're just not going to get that up here. Except for, the most, I think the best fans, I think, in the CFL probably for sure, is like
Saskatchewan.
Winnipeg is Saskatchewan, because out there, those guys, they ride or die, man. I mean, they really go out to games, and they're rowdy and they're in it.
But
So-
you gotta look at Tony's favorite word, scale.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So the CFL, right? If you were to scale it NFL wise, and I think the CFL, I think 8 teams is too little, but it's not a 16 team league. It's not
Where are you gonna make teams?
No. I see if the CFL were to pull. Remember, don't forget that they expanded into the States.
Yeah, I remember that Shreveport and all that
Right,
stuff.
Shreveport and
Forget the other team.
It wasn't a heinous failure, but it just wasn't the same.
It was badly managed too.
Yeah. So like I see the CFL, me personally, again, as like ideally a 12-team league. Right? 12-team league, right? You can expand the presence of Canadian players. Because this is going to sound like I'm knocking the CFL players, but I'm not. The top 10% of the CFL players and the bottom 10% of the NFL players are interchangeable.
Right.
Right? Easily interchangeable. But that's not to say that there aren't players in the CFL, if given the chance, right? If they're outside of that top 10%, if given the chance, couldn't succeed in the NFL.
Right. I mean, there's only so many positions in the NFL, and sometimes you just don't get that job. There's all kinds of
the NFL, like literally, if you're a tackle, right? So you're an offensive lineman, you play tackle, and your reach is 2 inches shorter than what they say is the ideal.
Mm-hmm.
They're not drafting you.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you're right.
Right. So now you become a free agent, kind of walk on, like getting knocked around on practice rosters and stuff like that, like vying for a chance to play. When if you come to the CFL, you're playing. Right. You're improving yourself. You're honing your skills. And then if you
Doug Flutie is the best example, and so is Warren Moon. I think quarterback wise, you still always have a chance to go back to the NFL because it's great. It's great to just fling on your arm and keep under pressure, and even though it's not as fast and as furious. Well, actually, I think it's still a fast game. Maybe you don't get hit as hard, maybe sometimes than the NFL, but it's a good testing ground for quarterbacks, no doubt. No, we've proved it time and time again.
Joe Theismann,
quarterbacks. Oh yeah,
Warren
for
Moon,
sure. Warren Moon.
Doug Flutie,
who they robbed.
Garcia, right?
Wait, are you reading from your 1981 book?
No. That's off the top of the dome.
Nice.
That's off the top of the dome.
You have to tell people about the book. You've got a book.
Let me see if the camera will work, but it doesn't necessarily. There we go. Canadian Football, 1981.
Terry Jones wrote that.
Written by Terry Jones, and on the cover is Warren Moon, the MVP of the Grey Cup in 1980.
Now, is that before he left to go to the States? What year did he go to the U.S.? That was the year.
Yeah, it's before he left. So when he went to play for the Houston Oilers at the time, I think it was.
That's right.
I want to say it was 84, 85. So he came. They were here. Edmonton won. I think it was either 4 straight or 5 straight, and then he bounced and went to the NFL. And then he was like Pro Bowl, and he's in the Hall of Fame there as well. So,
I always thought Warren Moon looked like Grant Fuhr.
he does. That mustache, that whole face.
Yeah, he could maybe be Italian.
See, but you look at what he was insistent on playing quarterback coming out of college, and at the time, they're like, you're black, you can't play quarterback.
Yeah,
you want to be a wide receiver? You want to be a deep back? How about running back? He's like, no, I'm a quarterback. So he ends up in a league where they're like, we don't give a shit if you're purple. Come throw the ball.
Yeah.
Can you throw a 60-yard out? All right, cool.
Right. Oh, yeah. Here's 83. Sorry, not to interrupt, just so we got a reference. Yeah. So 93 is the last year in Edmonton, and then 94 he's with Houston. Then he goes on to Minnesota, Seattle, KC. Yeah.
So back to my point about CFL versus NCAA. 94, I would have been watching the Michigan Wolverines and Tyrone Wheatley breaking tackles more than watching Warren Moon in the CFL.
But what was the impetus? Why were you doing it? Like, why did you prefer watching college ball? I know I watched a lot of college ball in the 80s and 90s. And
yeah, in the 80s and 90s, I watched a lot. Not as much as I do. I mean, a lot then, hardly now.
Like when you have the marketing machine behind it.
I'd say it was the craze. Not smaller, but packed stadiums with people not that much older than you.
Right.
There you go.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's the appeal. As
opposed to like 20-yard end zones and 3 downs, not 4, and that fat ball I didn't want to use. It was just fast, and it was it's almost like college basketball versus professional basketball. In that in professional basketball, the rules apply unless it was a really good highlight. Then travel's all around. You're allowed to travel. You're allowed to do whatever. If you're a marquee player, then you can get away with offensive fouls. And in football, there's just things that happen at the professional level that just don't happen when you're not. No, I'd say not playing for dollars, but we all know that there's some. That's not always the case. Amateur status and students. We can't just say that.
The U, baby, the U.
Why you gotta go there, man?
Hey, listen, I am not mad, and there's nothing. And people will argue with me forever about when teams get caught with tempting guys to come to their schools and giving them food that because they're actually hungry, maybe a lift somewhere, maybe give them a car after they're making millions. There's nothing you can tell me. Big shout out to Miami U, to the U. And big shout outs to Uncle Luke. Respect.
Respect due.
Sorry, Greg.
Yeah, no, just saying that's just as we were talking about Warren Moon, I almost cared more about Warren Moon when he went to Houston.
Yeah, we were all rooting for him, right?
Yeah. At the same way I would have been rooting for Randall Cunningham.
Right. Yeah.
Like going, run, run. But yeah, I wouldn't have been watching the CFL even when we were working at Lansdowne Park as security guards, watching the game for free or letting your friends in. Hey, go to door number, go to entrance, D2, and I'll let you in. Even then, it wasn't as exciting. Even live, now live was better than on television, but I guess I might be in a minority or not, but. I didn't love, and I still don't love the CFL. Case in point, Grey Cup is on, and I'm going to turn the channel to see what's going on in the swimsuit competition.
Well, so I think for me, I was a little bit more dialed in back then because, well, we ended up having people that we knew start playing.
Exactly.
So I had 2 waves. The first wave was you're going with your friends, you get some cheap tickets. It's something to do as a kid. You can't go. You're not clubbing. You're a kid. You know what I mean? You get to go to the stadium and you get to watch games and, be part of something. And then later on, when I have friends who are going to Laurentian and we're playing ball, DJ and Carl DeCipio, and man, it was great. Like these are my neighborhood dudes. These are my neighborhood hero guys. You know what I mean? Dean Noel. All these guys that I knew that ended up playing. I think Val St. Germain started playing too. Val. I went to school with Val. These are guys I went to lived in my neighborhood. Ended up playing in the CFL. Like some of those guys went to school, Division II schools, and then end up, try to get to the NFL, to the NFL, and sometimes these things don't work out. And obviously they came back to play and had a great time, and then made a little bit of a career out of playing for the CFL. That was a proud moment. That's what kind of kept me in.
Absolutely.
And then I met a whole bunch of the people. Plus I was doing entertainment. So then these guys need to go out, and highlight, when when Rohan Marley, comes to play in Ottawa. I mean, that's Bob Marley's son. You know what I mean? And he's like the toast of the town. Like everybody's like touching onto his shirt, like they just touched royalty. You know what I mean? Like handed down from God himself. So I mean, I was a little more invested, I think, for a little while, and then when I did feel bad when the team left. I thought, man, I was like, man, we can't get it together. But then, like you, Greg, and everybody else, they were just like, because hockey showed up. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And when hockey came, those people were like, and hockey is supreme in Canada. Okay, let's take it for instance. The same thing you guys are saying about, do you get excited for, you're talking about small market and this and that. Well, that argument doesn't hold water with hockey. I can tell you that right now, because you can go over to Hull right now and just across the river from Ottawa and go see one of the OHL games, and it's packed.
Yeah.
There's a reason, but without going off on the hockey tangent, there's a reason why they boo the commissioner every chance they get. Right? Yeah. Because he's not catering to the people that love the sport.
Right.
He's catering to the bottom line, right?
Yeah.
The owners love him, the hockey fans hate him. Right. But loop back to football. Right? Just like you, right? The local heroes that made it to the dance, I was on the field with them.
Right.
So at Ottawa U, I'm side by side with Carlo DeCipio.
Right.
I know how hard Carlo's working.
Yeah.
I'm trying to take him down in practice.
Right.
Right. So to know that he's the top 10% on the Ottawa U GGs, right? And like I lost count of how many guys actually made it to the CFL.
Yeah.
Right. And got sniffs at the NFL.
Yeah.
Right. So just to put that in context, like I was on the field with them.
Yeah.
I was in training. I was like blood, sweat, and tears with them.
That's what I'm saying. So you got a little bit of an investment, just in the.
And I know how good they were.
Right. And how hard they worked for.
Yeah. The CFL it's not a joke. Like people look at it like, they're just the cast offs, blah, blah, blah. Like they're not. Like, no. They just don't fit the mold of what the NFL coaches say is the best offensive guard or offensive lineman or running back or whatever. Right?
Well, they didn't believe in Doug Flutie.
No, he was winning games and they were still bringing him off the bench.
Yeah.
Now, he just got hurt. Go in there, and Flutie would like
light it up
the game, light it up, and he'd win it, and then be like, "Yeah, you're still not starting
it." But sit down. Thanks, Canadian guy.
You got lucky this time.
Thanks, Shorty.
Last time, and next week you're gonna get lucky.
Of course,
again.
Everything was luck.
Yeah, you're not gonna start because you're.
And you know what's funny? You would never hear anybody writing for him. Not any of the press. Once in a while, you get one or two guys who are like, "Yeah, he's pretty phenomenal for a guy his size." That's what you would hear.
Listen, how does a man, and I'm pretty sure it was Doug Flutie that threw the Hail Mary that beat the U.
I mean, he was on SNL. And they play that over and over. It's like a running joke.
How does the man succeed? I'm sure he succeeded in high school too.
I'm sure.
Right? You're a winner in high school, you're a winner in college, and then you go to the pros and you're a proven winner. But they're like, yo, I'm sorry. You're not an NFL quarterback. It doesn't make no sense.
No.
Right? So the NFL, being an American league, they're gonna hire more Americans than Canadians, right? Obviously. Right? And then if it's American coaches in the CFL, they're gonna look for, my boy is the coach over here, so we got these guys. He worked with him. I know he's a good guy. Blah blah blah. Like it is what it is.
Well, guys, are like, I think one of these times we're gonna have to track down a couple of these guys to talk about it, because I remember those guys saying, they would go to the division schools in the U.S. and they'd be like, there's a system, right? So different guys will pick different guys because they work within the system coming up from whatever high school that they came up through. Yep. They'll say so-and-so works in the system. So it happens in basketball too. Like for the longest time, they're like, these Canadian guys, and these guys are, look at how many ballers now we have, right, in basketball. But that was a long fight, and it wasn't. Trust me, there were some guys who would bust guys' asses in the U.S. They just weren't getting that looks because they had, like you're pointing out, a more of an alliance to some of these other schools or these guys that they had originally wanted to put on. There's all kinds of factors, and it's not because these guys weren't any better. That's just, there's a preference. There's a certain system that was going through. It's just, it happens in that kind of sporting league where it's American system. They're looking for American players, and it wasn't like as international as basketball is now, and as football even is now, with a few more international type of guys. But they were like, yo, if you came from this school, we put you in this system, we're probably going to use you. Now you come from Canada from some system they don't really know, and they're like, all right, we might put him on. And if you get on and you do something spectacular, maybe you catch somebody's eye. That's what it's coming down to at that time. I'm sure it's different now, but that it was, a lot of those guys said it was tough. Just to get the attention, to get anybody to like look at them, at the tryouts and stuff, or they'd do really well at the tryouts and still not get on.
Yeah, because there's thousands. It's almost like a casting call in Hollywood. Like, I don't like his hair. There's no reason for, like, your talent speaks volumes, but sometimes your talent is not going to speak louder than whatever's standing against you.
Or your agent,
Or your agent.
And you're Canadian, you don't know any there's no scouts come up here agenting for anybody at that time either, who are like, yo, this guy's the shit, you need to have him on your line. You know what I mean? And I also have, but you also, because you're an agent, and you also have, some other superstar that you're managing that happens to be on that team. There's a lot of politics involved. That means now you're going to take this guy just so that you can make sure when contract time comes back around, these guys treat you right. Like, there's a whole thing. Like, it's and then when you're coming from somewhere where they don't know you don't really have that kind of representation. Ain't nobody repping you that way. You're not really going to get in, even though you're dope, So that's interesting.
At the end of the day, Toonie, the NCAA, the way, again, I'm speaking on my opinion, the NCAA is a league of young men, very young men, right? Who are prone to make mistakes, prone to be over emotional, prone to flunking out of school, prone to all kinds of stuff.
Drama.
Yeah. So the drama plays a huge part in that game.
But they're also very disposable because of that, too, right?
Yes.
You can just run through guys.
And the atmosphere of going into a stadium with 100,000 people yelling about your mom and stuff like that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? So is it exciting? Absolutely. Is it great to watch? Absolutely. Right? But it's not necessarily better football.
I guess at that point, that's what I was looking for. Is looking for angst.
Isn't it?
I'm looking for angst. I'm looking for someone to blow someone up. I'm looking for someone to get penalties for going a little bit too far. Not against like violence in anybody, but like showboating in the end zone or something.
Yeah.
I'm looking for drama. I'm looking at the same time.
If you're looking at,
I think nobody, look, if you haven't watched a CFL game in a little while, you probably can't say that. That's nothing against you. I'm just saying in general. I'm saying like, even for me, right? Because we're like, when's the last time we actually sat? Like, if you have, okay, Duane, have you been to a few of the games this year, or at least watched a few of the games like in Ottawa since they've come back?
Like live, I went to a couple of games.
There's been like a bigger excitement to watch this team in Ottawa than there has been, like there was when the team originally was around, in the 80s. Like when you had that team that actually looked like they were going to go and do something, right?
Yeah. Versus
when they were ready to leave, there was just like, well, we have tickets, let's just go, right? This atmosphere for the games, and when I was living in Vegas, I was watching because they were on the off season. They put on all the CFL games through ESPN. I was watching it, which is awesome. And I felt like the game was pretty good. It was still fast, and it's a pretty good game. And I was watching it just because of the team. But if I didn't have the team, I probably wouldn't have watched it. Like, because I don't watch Toronto and I don't watch Montreal, so I didn't have any alliance other than Ottawa. But because of Ottawa, I actually was watching, and I thought the games were pretty good. Is it as fast and intense as college? It just isn't. It's different. I don't even know what I call a more technical game, probably.
Yeah, and
so when you say better,
but when you're dealing with pros, like when you're dealing with a perfect, like I'm paying you this much money not to mess up.
Yeah.
Right. When you're dealing with kids, like
it's
again,
you're
gonna have people like it's not like the kids in college are faster than the kids and the guys playing the pros.
Yeah.
They're not. But you're trying to turn the corner in a college game, and the outside linebackers lost contain, and you're bouncing outside, and now it's a foot race to the end zone.
Right.
In the pros, that ain't gonna happen.
No. Yeah. Good analogy.
Yep,
so did you get an answer to your question, Greg?
Did I have a question? What was my question?
I don't know if there was a question. You were like, is it one better than the other?
It was almost a rhetorical opener in that I was saying that I find it more interesting. I can tell you how many. I can't tell you, sorry, how many highlights from an NFL game that are stuck in my head forever, and I at the same time couldn't think of one in the CFL.
But that's unfair too, because
they're both
it's not publicized. You're not going to get ESPN every once in a while. US ESPN goes, this play is ridiculous. It was by Canadian so and so league, and then they show it, and you're like, God damn. But other than that, they ain't showing the highlights. It's just not happening. So we don't know.
But even when you watch the game or when you do your regular thing where you flip back and forth. So it's Sunday, you've got a bunch of games going on and you flip back and forth and you catch time on both. So you watch a Rough Rider v Rough Rider game and then watch another game, Buffalo Bills getting trounced or something. Even equal against equal, relatively speaking, vying for my attention. I'd still would prefer to watch an American football game. Yeah, I feel bad.
Okay, so that leads me to
for example, do you guys remember? And the answer, I think, by default is yes. The Bo Jackson stiff arm run down the sidelines for 80 yards.
Jesus.
Yes,
absolutely. Can you remember the Raghib Ishmael?
Oh my God!
I think it was a punt return.
Man,
yep. There you go.
That guy was the truth. What was his brother's name? Who played in the
Eek something.
I can't remember. But both
Rashid.
I think it was Rashid.
Yeah, they were both fast. Like
lightning.
But the Rocket was. I mean, I gotta watch highlights now on YouTube. Yeah. That guy was amazing, and he was not that big. He was like a little.
No, he was small and fast.
5'6" and 2.
Holy.
And then on the other side, Dexter Manley comes up.
Oh Jesus.
So Tony was challenging that there's not a CFL play that he remembers, but
I remember that one. Yeah. I remember that one.
Do you remember Gizmo Williams?
Oh yeah.
I do, but not as many plays as I would. Pinball was interesting, and they would give him the ball a lot.
Pinball Clemens.
But I would say, I remember Barry Sanders highlights a lot more.
That's different. Barry Sanders
Barry Sanders is special. Okay, that's golden
child. The best running back.
You're not going to see too much of that anywhere.
Or I'd watch Tony Dorsett and Herschel Walker in the same backfield.
You're talking about Hall of Famers.
Come on. Yes. It's not fair.
It's not fair. It's not even that's not you're right. We're talking about regular humans now, man. Versus superstars. Yeah, I mean
that's true. Yeah, but that's the point, I guess, is the on the NCAA side is crazy, manic, maybe not the best individual play. But kids just going at it. And then on the NFL, you've got professionals, as Duane said, who this is their life. This is what they do. And in some cases, they're not real humans versus the CFL.
Yeah.
Which is people trying, doing everything they can, making the team. I mean, Carlo is an example, someone that you know, went to school with, played beside, and got to the Canadian version of the show. And most people had to have a second job.
Yes.
You know,
all those guys were like either bouncing or working. Like all those guys had second jobs.
But and again, we talk about like the scaling, right? NCAA, you're talking about it like 129 teams.
Yeah.
NFL, you're talking about 32 teams. CFL, you're talking about 8. Right?
Wait, are you proving my point for me?
No. But you bump up the CFL, right? So you take all of the players. So let's say every roster in the NCAA, right? 129 times 53. That's how many players you're looking at on a weekly basis that can potentially make you a 32 teams, right? For the NFL, right? So you can weed out whatever you want, right? Out of the 32 teams, right, times, I think there are a 53-man roster as well, go down to the CFL. So if everybody's carrying 53, right, the CFL has 8 teams, but they're picking from who the NFL says, you're not good. Like Cameron Wake for the Dolphins.
Yep.
Prime example.
Yep.
He wasn't in the NFL for no reason at all. And he came to the CFL, and like he is inhuman. He's one of those he's unbelievable. And in the CFL, we were like, yo, this dude is unbelievable. And then that's when the NFL was like, we'll give him a shot.
Yeah, you've proven yourself.
No, but the NFL gives him a shot, and he's one of the best D linemen. How do you overlook something like that?
So you're saying is it's not that the talent is not here; it's just that they're just overlooking it.
Yeah.
Where Greg is saying, no, it's just leakage of a few guys here and there, and it's just not as good a game. And every once in a while, you hit lotto or hit 7.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
See, that's why Greg is salt and I'm pepper.
I think I'm cinnamon or paprika or 5 spice or something. But yeah, you were talking about the mechanics of the differences between the leagues, and I'm talking about watching games.
Just sheer entertainment.
The entertainment.
I know.
If you throw enough dollars behind anything,
sure.
I would watch I would watch my son's school soccer team where they practice like for 5 minutes before they go to a tournament, if there was enough money behind it with the advertising and this and that.
I don't know about all that.
The way that they package it, it's all, it's all marketing, man. Yeah, are you kidding me?
You listen, you're doing, stop. You know for a fact that when you watch somebody like Argentina do 15 touches and nobody else touches the ball before they put it in the back of the net, that's not magic to you? You're going to tell me you'd rather sit and put that much money behind some guys, 6 kids chasing the same ball in one direction versus a bunch of guys doing a whole bunch of touches and then finally putting in the net and completely dismantling somebody's attitude about why they're actually even there playing football?
So the transition is perfect, because if we were to talk about soccer and soccer leagues, everybody has a different opinion about each league. Is the Spanish league better than the Italian league? Right? Or is the Italian league? The players are interchangeable, 100% interchangeable. You can take a player from England and put him in Spain, or you can take him from Spain and put him into Italy, right? Or you can take him from Italy and put him in the MLS, right? A player who plays the game at that level, right, especially for soccer, they're supposed to be interchangeable. Some of them, a few of them, don't transition very well from like this is the tactical side versus like run as hard as you can, and some guy's going to put his studs in your mouth type thing.
Well, that happened with the African players. They play tough, man. Them guys play tough. They must put a spike in your back and walk off.
But the transition, like I and maybe I'm misreading, but I feel like Tooney is saying the quality of the player is different between
Well,
the NFL,
well,
CFL,
yeah.
and
No,
NCAA.
I thought he said
I-
the entertainment in general is just different.
Entertainment. Now, at the same time, entertainment is based on what you put on the product in the field. A CFL Grey Cup team against an NFL Super Bowl team, it's unfair to compare the two.
Right.
And if it's unfair to compare the two, then we've already made a statement about it.
But why is it unfair?
Okay, I'm not. Then I won't say that. I won't say it's unfair. If you put an NFL team, Super Bowl, or a top 3 team in the NFL against a top 3 CFL team, what do you think the outcome is?
What qualifies a team? What do you qualify as top team?
You already know the answer. You're running a circle
Exactly.
now.
No. I'm asking. Are you talking about their record? Are you talking about the quality of play? Are you talking about the quality of players?
I'd say the record in a given season, the top of any conference versus the top Grey Cup winner. Come on.
let me show you where it doesn't matter. If you're watching track and field and you got a bunch of kids running the 100 meter, you almost don't care about the time. You only care about the drama of the race.
Yeah.
Right? So there you're sitting in the stands and you're screaming for whoever, and you just want to see for second and third, and the different heats. There's an excitement there that's why the races in Jamaica that they have every year,
for high school guy.
For high school, his ram. It's been like that forever. People think that it just came about. No, that's been like that. But the thing is, it's so exciting to watch. 200, the 400. It's the reason why I used to love watching track and field. Like, Edwin Moses, like all these guys. It almost doesn't matter who wins. It's the drama of the race. At the high school level, at the collegiate level, there's a sport where it just transcends. If a guy jumps and the guy jumps whatever higher than everybody else at that particular meet, you're like, amazing. If he long jumps better than everybody else and you don't even know his name, you're like, wow, that was amazing. He hit 17 feet, even though the record was 20 something. You're still dialed in. So it's not necessarily, if the entertainment value is there, you're going to watch. Essentially, what I think Greg is saying is that the entertainment value of excitement of watching a guy, zip his arm like any other great quarterback to some corner who makes an amazing catch is not as much likely as it is in the NFL, right? Or just college, just the raw physical.
All right, let me tweak the comparison.
And I will say this: there's a lot of there's probably a little bit more turnovers and stuff in college, right? Like there's kids make mistakes. Like
that's more drama.
More drama. So again, it's not. I will lend more quality to the CFL for sure, but you're looking at a game that's just overall exciting. You're looking at kids fighting for it. You know what I mean? For a position in something that's going to change their life. I don't think you can compare those things.
Really. I want to tweak Tooney's analogy for a second. So take your Super Bowl winner, and take an all-star team from the CFL, and play one half NFL rules, one half CFL rules.
What would that prove?
I'm just throwing it out there. Who wins that game? We're talking about the quality. So now we've established, right? You guys are the best team in the NFL. You won the Super Bowl, and the best team doesn't always win, by the way.
Yep.
But
Fair.
You've won the Super Bowl, and now we're handpicking. You are an all-star nose tackle, right? Defensive end, blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. So we're identifying the top, right, roster of players from the CFL, and we're putting them into a game. You know what? Let's play NFL. We'll play 2 games. It's a 2-game best of 3. Right? Play NFL rules. Yeah. Play CFL rules. Who do you think wins that game?
The NFL player. And here's why. Here's why. The in the example of one half versus one half, I don't know whether or not a CFL team would be able to put enough points in the second half in CFL rules to make up for the difference of the domination that would have happened in the first half.
But why are you assuming it's domination? I just don't understand why you're assuming it's domination. And there's a reason why I said
athletically, I think they cannot. Okay, no, sorry. Don't let me say that, because people will surprise you. I think also chemistry-wise, okay, in a perfect world, are you saying that these guys would be played together for a while and at least have some sort of chemistry before they would play this NFL team?
They both have whatever. We'll give them a week of preparation. Like
Okay,
it's like you're going into a bowl game, right? So we're going to give you a week or a week and a half of preparation, and we're going to play this playoff round.
They have a chance, but it's not great.
But are you speaking about talent-wise, or are you speaking about chemistry-wise? Like Sneaks, it sounds like you're coming from the chemistry.
I believe in chemistry like you wouldn't believe. I just think you just can't throw some guys together just like that. Sometimes you hit lotto on guys who either played with each other at a different college or university, and that's the reason why you see the kind of picks that happen in the NBA and different things like that, or the CFL. But I just football's tough for me because it's so technical. You could just say, look, run the play, and if everybody does their job, the play should run well, right? Whereas basketball is like you run some plays, but a lot of things is just feeling out a player and knowing where he is and lobbing the ball and different things like that. So, I mean, but just on sheer talent and fact that these guys are Super Bowl winners, you get that far, you got something. You know what I mean? That's such an S. You just, the best of the best is on those teams. So I just don't know how the best of this CFL is going to even come, not come close, but definitely I don't see them pulling it out. I see them holding them back a little bit, but not a lot. It's not going to be a blowout.
I'd love to see
it. I don't think it would be a blowout. I just don't think they should do it. I mean, doesn't the NFL support a lot of what the CFL does? It's great for football in general.
Yeah, it's great for football. Yeah, the NFL supports the CFL,
of course,
like 100%.
That'd be awesome to see.
So here's what, like, it just kind of popped into my head. I remember when we were playing, I think it was midget football, so 17 years old. Not talking about the high school fiascos where we went and got our asses handed to us over and over and over. I played for the Myers Riders. Shout out to Myers.
Myers, big up.
And we won the provincial championship, and we went to play a junior college. I don't know if it was an all-star team.
In America?
Yeah, in Florida.
Oh, you did? In Florida, of all places. Jesus.
Yeah. And
kids eat football for life.
Yo, dude, the running back, I remember like it was yesterday. He was like 6'2", probably about 235, like solid, fast like lightning. And he played both ways.
Oh, God.
So, like, it was like I would see him. I'd wake up at night after the game and see him and go, oh, God, how'd you get here? Anyway, we ended up losing the game. So our team, Myers Riders, lost the game by 3 points, 3 extra points. Right? So we didn't hit the extra points, and they hit the extra points to win. But the talent was really interchangeable at that level, at 17, 18.
Yeah.
Right? Quality players versus quality players. Right? The end.
You see, you're fighting it now.
No.
Your soul is fighting you back.
I agree what you say about chemistry and the way that a team is going to come together and play well and be able to do things because they understand this and that and the other thing, versus an all-star team where we've been together for a week, blah blah blah, right? I would love to see pick the best players out of the CFL and put them together for a year, like a CFL all-star team versus the NFL, right, Super Bowl winner. But the CFL all-star team has played together for a few weeks and then do that matchup. I'd love to see that because I don't think it wouldn't be the blowout that Tooney thinks it is.
I don't know.
I'm with Tooney on this one. Sorry. I just think that I just think there's too much. I just think there's too much history. Like when you have a team that's already won the a a a cup. I mean, they've gone to they won it. I mean, they're there. There's so much that's gone on to get you to that point. You know each other so well. There's so much involved, and then for you to go off of it. I mean, I'm like, I don't know.
But for entertainment value, that'd be interesting.
You would.
Yeah. It almost would have to be like a friendly. So nothing happens, nothing changes, no
Plus-
TV rights change.
Yeah.
You know, don't show it if it's a blowout.
You know what? They wouldn't do it anyways because monetarily wise, they're like, why would I get one of my top players injured for some CFL
like it
showdown?
would never happen.
That's like when those friendlies come here to Canada, like when they play like MLS, they brought. I remember when I went to go see, I forget who it was, and they brought out Kaká for like
10 minutes.
if that, bro. It was like 10 minutes. He was like,
but okay, so that's a different story, right? In terms of soccer, soccer at the highest level, and the MLS is quickly becoming like a respected league.
Oh, for sure.
Quickly becoming like from where it was 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, where it didn't exist, to now, where people are like, yo, like I want to go play in the MLS,
right?
And they're starting to kind of cherry pick the best players that come out of MLS academies and bring them over to the UK and Spain and shit like that. So like it's transitioning.
Right? So the system that while we're on that, when you say this farm system, are they curtailing tailing their whole system towards something more UK like or more Spanish like? And is that why they're picking them coming here, or are they just like that there's some good developing physically talented players that they can mold? Because I know as we have this conversation a lot, that there is a system, and when you can pick some people out of the system, you can drop them into any particular place that has that same system, and they should be okay.
Mm-hmm. They're starting to do it younger and younger because they're identifying like the fact that the MLS academy system is doing a good job. Right. But when you talk about like the development of a soccer player, it's funny because it's a crapshoot. Right? A kid that is good at 14 might not be a solid player at 18, 19. Right? And the amount of money that you're investing into that player, the amount of money and time and resources, all that other stuff to see if he's going to make your first team.
Sorry, I don't know what that is. I was looking something up and it just popped up my screen. Sorry, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm starting to hear now where like the teams in Italy and Spain and the UK are now looking to grab a player at 13, 14, right? Contact the parents and say, yo, bring him over here, right? We'll set you up over here. He's got the tools that we want. We'll set you up over here. But we think that he's got promise to make our squad. And because they're doing it so young, they don't necessarily have to pay
so they're investing on a small gamble on something that may pan out.
Yeah. Because if you, and I don't want to misquote, but I think if you are signed to an academy, so the MLS rules are a little bit different from the ones overseas, but like they're starting to align a little bit more. Let's say you sign a junior contract at 16. Now that you've signed that junior contract, if you get signed by another team, they have to pay, right? So that's the deal. So
I mean, that's how it is in Europe. I like this.
Yeah, So in Europe, right, at 14, right, if you're in an academy and they release you for whatever reason, like you can bounce around to another academy, right? So the academies with the junior contracts, and it's not necessarily a contract, but the junior players are allowed to bounce from one spot to another spot, right? But as soon as you sign that kind of entry level contract, if you're going to go somewhere, the other team's got to pay.
That's what a lucrative business. So here, while we're still on the soccer thing, let me ask you from your humble opinion, and Greg, feel free to chime in on this.
Who's humble? Which one of us is humble?
What? No, good question. Still, pond humble. So Bleacher Report did this thing I was looking for because I read it the other day. I remember this came out in the summer, that Cristiano Ronaldo rumor coming to the MLS.
And before you answer that, should we be listening to Bleacher Report?
Bleacher Report is the goods.
Ronaldo coming to MLS.
So, I mean,
they would have to sell the league to afford Ronaldo.
Let me ask you this. Does that, let's just forget about that. Let's just say that it does happen. Does this change the trajectory of the MLS for people actually saying, you know what? MLS is an option for me as a major player. Maybe, not your first few years if you're playing for somebody like Barcelona or something like that, but 4 or 5 years down the road, you're like, okay, I actually will sign up with so-and-so in this part of the season for a transfer.
It's already become that.
Right?
It's already become that. Giovinco is, when he signed, he was 27. He was riding the bench in Italy.
Right. So he's like, I don't want to sit here and guys want to play, right? Isn't that the thing? Like even if you're on an illustrious team or whatever, you're like, I want to play. So, and I can know that I can not be on the bench. I can be the man. X, Y, Z place, and they'll go. So my question,
guys, just one second. I'll be back in a second. Keep going.
No problem. Do you think it's really going to happen?
Ronaldo?
Like, I don't know, just some kid comes out of the league who's the hot stuff, and somebody, and Beckham says, come to LA or Miami if that ever happens, and they offer him a bunch of money, and it starts this thing where where people really start coming to watch. Obviously he dominates. He becomes this Michael Jordan like figure, or a Barcelona type player that's just so dominant, and then people start really taking the league that much more serious. I'm not saying that they don't take it serious now. I just don't think that the money compared to what they're making, all these other major teams at the Premiership is not the same, right?
And that's the biggest thing. The money has to match up. Right?
So we need a bigger they need a bigger stadium. You need more asses and seats in order to quantify to bring these type of players here.
But it becomes problematic because when you look at the state of the Italian league, like the teams are going bankrupt left, right, and center. Because
it's bad. It's really bad. How are these guys? So I'm always. It's a whole other conversation about sport and guys how much money they're spending. But I always find, and it's I don't know all the finances of major sporting teams, but is it a thing that all of major football, soccer guys are like broke? Not broke, but always in the black and the red. What is that?
The clubs themselves?
Yeah. Like in the Premiership, isn't there a lot of guys in serious red? Like, isn't the Gunners one of the least teams that spend as much money?
The Gunners are run by a professor.
Right.
So he's their they've always wanted to be fiscally responsible, right? So they built the new stadium, and their mandate was to, like, let's pay off the stadium before we start spending big on players and this and that. So the lean years, right? They haven't won a championship in 9 years. This is year 10. But the reason why they were selling players was to kind of reap the benefits of, like, bringing them in when they're 17, 18, young,
and then
building them up and then turning them over. And Arsene Wenger is magical at recognizing, this guy's got like 2 more years left.
Yep, let's put him on the market.
Let's maximize it right now.
Mm.
He is a wizard at doing that. Right. So, like, looking at Arsenal, I'd say they're the outliers. Right. They sell a lot of jerseys, like a lot of equipment and this and that and stuff like that. But they're not like, Man U is off the charts. Real Madrid is off the charts. Barcelona is off the charts. Right. So those big clubs that sell that much merchandise, right, that have billionaire backers, that, right, they don't necessarily, like, you look at Man City. They don't worry about how much they're spending.
No.
They're like, whatever. Oh, he wants 110 million. All right.
God.
They'll just throw it out there and they'll worry about the repercussions after. Right?
It's so different than the NFL. Like, the NFL is that constant, ridiculous amount of money. Like,
there's a lot of money.
When your commissioner is making, was it 60 million a year or something? 40?
His demand was 50 million.
50 million. Okay, come on. So you're making more money than most football players actually on the field. How much are the guys who own the teams making, right? So when I look at that, and I always say, wow, the NFL is one of the most profitable, most continuous money makers. But then I look at what they spend, especially for transfers in the soccer leagues over in Europe. I'm perplexed to how they do it. It just seems so much money. It just seems so huge, like how they, and then still have to pay for this, and then they're playing. When you look at Barcelona, it's like $1 billion team.
Yeah, and it's a completely free market. Like, as a player, you can basically demand what you think you're worth, and there's no salary cap.
Right.
But it's gone. The pendulum has swung too far, where they're playing like, Tony, if you could juggle a ball, they'd be like, yo, I'll give you 3 million.
Wow, just keep them entertained.
Right. So it's swung so far one way that, like, it's gonna swing back.
Yeah, there's gonna be a rebellion. And is that gonna come from the fans, or is that just the accounting guys going, hey guys, you need to start reeling this back, we're not getting a return on investment, or whatever it is?
Well, there's,
because the fans essentially have to keep paying more and more to pay these fees and pay these players, and then food prices and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So the fans start to revolt because the cost of the tickets can continue to go up. Right. And then you look at, it's not the quality. There's so much money in soccer. Like, it just
seems endless to me. I've never seen a sport like it.
And this is,
I don't think there is a sport like it.
There isn't. And this is without, like, they haven't even maximized the amount of money they can make from televised.
Oh my God. I saw the television rights for, what's it called? Euro TV or whatever it was, when they just renegotiated it all. When I was in Vegas, it was the last year before I went to Vegas. And I remember listening to this podcast. It was just a sporting show, and they were talking about how much the contracts were and how much they were going back, it was going way up for these television guys, because the amount of money being made from people watching, and whatever, all the commercials stuff, because it's one of the last things that people actually still do watching live on television, right, is sports. Everything else you're just watch later. in demand. But who wants to watch the sport? Although I have a few friends who watch the basketball game later and don't watch the score and just fast forward the commercials. But who really wants to watch a sporting event not live, right? So there's still this huge leverage for advertising, but it's even for soccer. There's no commercials, so I'm always floored.
When you watch the Champions League, you see the commercials where they'll zip it into like a part of the screen, like the Heineken.
Oh, it's on the corner.
commercial.
Oh, and then
Yeah.
they do advertise on the jerseys. So those
Yeah.
jersey advertising must be like, Emirates must pay crazy money for
Crazy
Chevrolet,
money.
which is,
Crazy
by the
money.
way, the worst jerseys I've ever seen in my life. Those Chevrolet jerseys.
Man U jersey.
Oh my God, they're gross.
Yo,
Sorry, Man U fans. I'm sorry.
Yo, Kane is gonna.
They are
no.
he's gonna lynch me. Those are the worst looking jerseys I've ever seen. They need to do something about that.
It'll be fixed in a year
they
or
need
two.
they need Nike's help or something, because they just like the Oregon Ducks, who are the best.
They're Adidas
uniforms. I know, but I'm just saying, like, when you look at Oregon Ducks, like every season, these guys come out with some unreal outfits every year. You know what I mean? Like,
That's
you
Nike
make that
money,
much
man.
money, guys. You can.
That's
do
Nike
it.
money right there.
That's Nike money. That's Nike. That's Nike. Marketing right there. So, Greg, I meant to ask you this. What do we need to do to make an app? So you're working on something really cool. You've been doing this interactive thing with sports, with hockey, right?
Yeah, we launched a.
Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, launched a conversational hockey trivia experience for Google Home and Google Assistant. So all you got to do is just say, "Hey, okay, Google, talk to drop the puck," and you can start playing a hockey trivia game. And it's bilingual, so you can also play in French. We partnered with Google to develop this, so it would be part of the launch of Google Canada and Google Assistant. Sorry, Google Home and Google Assistant in Canada.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That sounds amazing. So, my question to you is, what do we need to do to make that happen for an NFL, for NBA? Because I think that would be really interesting, given the amount of stats, and there's obviously a Toronto team here. And
Absolutely.
all that good stuff. Although, hockey's the first one, just intelligently and finance-wise and success-wise, because when you look at what those, I forget the agency, I know the guy, they did with the every time that scored that the
Budweiser
Budweiser red light, which is I'm going to say one of the top 10 coolest marketing things I've seen. I mean, that is simple. That got people really excited about just having that in their house and having hockey. It's pretty cool. Yeah, a lot of fun. But yours is great because people just want to keep asking questions about stuff. Like, listen to us talking about stats and players and different people like that. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it would just take questions, really, a corpus of questions and answers. Everything else can be worked around.
So when you develop an app like that, are you thinking how it functions first versus what people want? Like, when I say that, I mean there's a point where you come in the road where you're like, this is what I'm going to build, but this is what people like, the Apple idea, like, this is the iPhone, this is what you want. You don't realize it right now, but this is what you need, right? Like, how are you approaching that so that you're building something that is going to be user friendly and that people are going to use all the time? Like, because apps die here and there, and some of them stick around forever, like an Instagram or whatever. But yours seems to be one of those things where people would just use all the time. So how do you keep that engagement? Is it the sport that's driving it, and then innovation about different kinds of questions? Like, how are you approaching that?
So on one hand, the psyche of trivia games and people playing them is pretty universal.
Right.
Someone wants to get a harder question, get a harder question, get a harder question. and they don't want to be beat. They don't want to be beat by a person, by a system. So if you keep gameplay progressively more difficult, there's a way to get people to play. And then because it's me, I added a persona of a host who had various levels of trash.
Oh, taunting. That sounds like you. So you're in the Matrix. This is wonderful.
And well, this person, I can't say her name because we'd have to pay her licensing fees, but watched maybe 60 hours of tape of her in various sports and various coverage because she's a Canadian sportscaster. And actually, if I say a couple things in a certain way, depending on how well you know the sportscasters in Canada, you'd say, "Oh, okay, now I know who that is." So just based on people's competitiveness and the need to be outdone without necessarily being boastful,
Right.
and having a little bit of trash on the side, every question we'd have to think about how people ask and answer questions. How do they do it? In this case, because it was all voice first, not voice only, but voice first. How do people actually answer questions? And then designing for that and going back and forth and iterating. So on one hand, there was an analog. There is an example of hockey trivia or just trivia in general. Trivial Pursuit is a good example. Everybody's played Trivial Pursuit. So there's an existing way people expect to play trivia games. And then you add a little bit of trash and a little bit of Canadiana on top, and then just test the shit out of it. We would do tests like every week. So here's a new drop of a new version. In this case, someone answers the question. The answer could be Wayne Gretzky or Mary Lemieux or something. You realize you need to also think about someone just saying the great one or saying, you know, whatever, or not even giving an answer. That guy whose dad I like. You know, the things that you have to think about. That you wouldn't know until you just test. But if we do work on areas where there is like nothing that exists, and then it's getting to a point where you're at a point where you're good enough to be able to test with a human.
Right. And then you're like, oh, this is cool, but you know, is it functional for what we want to do? Or you're like, this is really cool, and we're going to implement it, and people are just going to learn with this learning curve of whatever. Like you just throwing different things out that they
and then bend don't break. So the other thing I'm working on is there isn't anything like it. There's something close in a different context, wouldn't compete, but close enough so we can learn. But in the end, we're just making some decisions to say, well, yes, you've never done this before, but if you were to do it, here's the 3 ways you can do it.
You could do it, right.
And let's just get to the point where we can test this enough times. Never being as cocky as, say, a Steve Jobs to say, you do it and this is how you do it.
Right.
And this is how you do it, because
we're also learning
that's a big bang.
Being a dick all the time in this whole development world isn't always. I mean, there's a thing to it, but it's arguable. It's arguable whether pushing people to that level all the time for, you know, the totalitarianism of it all.
I don't do that.
I know. Listen, I think, you know, it's hard to say something like that and then just judge somebody like, oh, you know, we now know about Steve. I mean, the man's gone undead, so we don't really like talk about dead people. So
does it work in sports?
But it doesn't work in sports, right?
I'm asking.
Like so not Phil Knight. What's his name? Bobby Knight.
Yeah. Does it work? He gets results.
So Bobby, I mean,
or he used to get results.
I mean, it's Bobby Knight, right? Who ended up
Indiana
the chair through, and then I mean, we knew that he was like, well, everybody knew he was rough on the kids. I think, and it was never out of hate or malice, but I just think his approach, and then it was just getting, I don't know if it was getting worse or people just started noticing it more sensitive to it, but. You know, he'd grab a kid and he's like, "You're trash," or you'd be like, "Yo, that's just shitty. Just get out there and do it again." Or that, you know what I mean? You're not hearing that. Like like social media would cook people now online, you know, as opposed to a different guy like the Lakers. What's his name?
You talking about Phil?
Phil Knight, Phil yeah, Phil from the Lakers and the Bulls. So Phil would be like, "Yo, let's come, me sit down,
Let's
meditate on
meditate.
this," versus throwing the
No,
chair.
but we hear one side of it, right? We hear
So that's what I'm saying. So I always have
so
this. It's hard for me to be like. That's why I never judged him, because I was like, well, what is the level of push? Is it worse than? Is it him abusing them? That's a whole different thing. Or is it him verbally pushing them to a corner, like how the army sergeant would do, or a teacher who wants you to do better and gets you to that point? Like, where's too much? And are you like, it's really hard to say these guys are wrong when they're so successful. Where's the point for a person like you, Greg? You're like, look, we need to get this thing done, and we got a year, and like it's the halfway through, and you guys still ain't doing shit, or whatever it might have been. You know what I mean?
but
Like,
in a
is there a pedal where you start stepping on some people's necks and then you get more results? But what is the end result of that? You make a good product, but people resent you. But your
if
shit
people
was
want
dope,
to succeed, right? And you talk about the Bulls,
right?
right? Where Phil Jackson is like,
Jackson, here we go.
he's not necessarily stepping on people's necks, but
Right.
he's running a relatively tight ship, if you want to call it that. Blah blah blah. You might say, let's go meditate. Let's this. The person who is the heavy behind it is Jordan,
Right. Well, Jordan was relentless.
right? With the Lakers, it was Kobe,
Right.
right? Like, if you're gonna piss around, get the hell out of here, man. I'm here to win championships.
Right.
Right. So there's always a heavy presence somewhere.
Well,
I just think when you're dealing with, and I use the word kids loosely. These are young men,
Yep.
or
yeah.
women.
Right. Yes.
When you're dealing with young adults, like eventually they're just going to turn you off. They don't want to hear that. I'm like, there he goes again.
Right.
Right. I mean, they just turn
So
you off.
worse to a
And
point, and then you're like, I'm tuning out.
Yeah, but it becomes necessary. And I've coached 17, 18, 19, up to 21, 23 type players in soccer. And I've ripped into them, and you know me, that's not my style.
That's not your steez.
But eventually it's just like, I gotta, it's building up. I'm either gonna have a stroke or I'm gonna pump this kid in his face. So like let me just,
it's gonna be one of those.
Let me just get it off my chest, and then we'll move on from there.
And we'll move on. But it's not so. If your approach is to address something, if it gets to that point, you're really gonna make a point. But it doesn't have to go like that all the time. And have you personally seen that in other coaches where that's their thing and they're known for that and they're successful at it?
I see, and I've seen it at many levels, right? And for me, there's a different definition of success, right? So, to me, as a soccer coach, right, if I bring in a kid that's, let's say they're 8, and I'm coaching them, and let's say I have them for 4 or 5 years, that's a long time,
right?
In relation to like how long they've been alive, right? So if I'm coaching a kid for 4 or 5 years, and then they move on to another coach, my target is to make sure that they A, learn something, B, enjoy their time with me, and C, continue to love the game and want to continue to play the game, right? So I'm going to foster, right, whatever relationship is necessary. I'm going to make sure that they enjoy their time, right? And it's not all lollipops and giggles and stuff like that, but right, I'm going to make sure they're learning and improving, right? I've seen and heard players and parents like ripping into kids at like the youngest age groups, 8, 9, 10-year-olds.
That can't work.
No. And then, right, like by U13, U14, like the kid's talented, right? But by 14 years old, he's done.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to play this sport no more. That to me That's a
That's a
complete
shame.
failure.
It's a shame, especially if he's
shame.
talented and he just falls out of love with it because of
Because of a
the
because of a
constant
shitty
barrage.
coach, like
Right.
no,
right.
and the parents like, yo, you have another soccer session, like yo, let the kid like go to a birthday party and eat cake, like let him be a kid,
Right.
let him enjoy himself, or let her. I keep saying him, but it's her as well, right?
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate.
Mhm.
So you let him have cake, you know. Whatever. And listen, I'm not saying that you would let some kid just be free. You're trying to build a great athlete. You're trying to help them move to the next level. So, again, you whether you're leading a team in soccer, or you're leading a team that's building a product. What is the difference between that and it's kind of slow success versus one that's going to get the results right away, where you've got the kid since he was 3 years old, you're in China and you're making this kid bend down and touch her knees every day, and the cycle, and it's like, do it now, do it now, do it now. And you know, you're in the workplace and you're like, guys, we got this deadline, and we can't have this, and if you can't handle it, you're gonna have to leave, or whatever. So you're burning some people out, but you're getting the results for the overall longer picture, and it's successful. Do you care? Is it your legacy you care about? I always struggle with this because I'm not that person, but I always see these guys who push people that much further, but I also see that the divide that's happening on this earth. People are like, yo, you have to be like this in order to make it, or to get this much money. But I'm like, how much is too much? Like Bezos and all those guys, and I'm sure they're nice guys, but to push things that much further, to get that far, you have to push people. I don't care what you say. There's
or just motivate them.
There's so many different ways of
you name
motivating.
me the $1 billion companies that were motivated without stepping on some necks. Which
is that the
one of
measure
these guys?
success?
Which one of these guys on Wall Street do you know that aren't almost killing themselves taking coke in the morning just so they can stay up, so they can keep working hard?
But is that success?
You understand what I'm trying to say? Like,
Yeah.
it's not the overall companies are winning at this. These guys that are coming and going aren't winning, but the guy at the top is winning. So at which point, where's the nice happy medium where you're like still building lives, letting people to have some sort of work-life balance, but being successful at what it is that you do? There has to be some other balance. Everything else seems to be like you got to kill, maim, and kill in order to be that guy.
I think every person is going to define success for themselves.
Right.
So, like, I can speak to the sports and then transition into like the professional environment, right? So, if I was an Olympic coach, right? So like they identified gymnasts when they're like 6, right? And then some of them, like depending on their structure and how they're doing and this and that, some of them like get weeded out right away. By the time they're 10, 12, they're like, yo, you're washed up. Yo, you're too tall. You know what I mean? But the ones that still want to participate and compete, and I know that it's like you tighten the screws, but it's a little bit at a time. Right.
So not too much. It's measured.
Not too much. Yeah. It's always measured. It's always calculated. It's always right. All right. Like for the last 6 months, we've been practicing for an hour and a half. Right. For the next 3 months, it's going to be an hour and 45 minutes. Right. Right. The 3 months after that, it's going to be 2 hours or an hour and 55 minutes. Like they don't notice the difference.
No.
Right. And then loop it around, right? Now they're in 3 hours of practice and they don't even realize that they're doing it. And you're like, what they were doing a year ago seems like it's a lifetime ago.
Right. That just the improvement is there.
Yeah, the improvement is there. The results are getting there.
what you.
But they're still enjoying it,
Right.
and you're still challenging them, and you're still encouraging them, and you're still you're pushing them, but it's reasonable,
right.
right? In the
Does this
profession,
convert into the professional world? That
in the
kind of
profession, you could do it. I've seen it happen, right? And it's not like the end result is not always beneficial.
Greg?
Right?
I'm thinking of a Canadian company that typifies this. I'd say, and this is my experience, having worked in like the big guys and the small guys, those that weren't successful and those that have been, that I've either worked at or that I've worked around. And if I could think of the big successful Canadian companies that then found their way to no longer being successful, it was big people at the top making the wrong decisions.
Right.
And there's what's the saying? Top, the opinion of the most important person in the room. And if that's how you run a business, and if you hold people by the neck and step on them, that's a short-term gain. And whatever that duration of time is, it's still short-term. So you can't think of successful big Canadian companies with a 5 to 10 year outlook and not see them fail. And if you look at the ones who fail, if you look at those who have failed, why? But if you look at a company more like, think of a Canadian success story like Shopify.
Wow. Yeah.
Where it's less about output and more about impact. And if, as a company, you can share the thing that I believe in, and you attract people who believe what you believe. Actually, I sound like Simon Sinek, if you guys follow him at all.
Yeah, I do follow Simon.
The golden circles. But if you identify, here's what I think, this is what I believe in, you attract those that believe what you believe. And then it's about impact. And if there ever is a point in time where something has to ship for a certain point and you have to step on next to get there, that's like a fail a few steps back. Why would you ever put yourself in a position to have to be in a situation where that was the case? You could account for things you need in the future today and not have to sit on someone's neck the whole time. And what I have found is that in many rooms, I am the oldest guy there. So the reality is the people that you're working with and the next generation, the millennials, you can't just tell them what to do and expect them just to go do it and step on their neck if they don't get it done.
Yeah.
You get a big, hairy fuck you. You really have to explain, well, here's what we're trying to do and get buy-in and then find what motivates individually and help them get there. If this dude, if you know that this dude is going to push back, but if you give him something he loves, he'll work on weekends to get it done. Why not just make sure that you give people a reason to want to work on weekends? Don't step on necks. Find a way to get impact from people, not just output.
I read I recently read in this, well, at the end of summer, I read Extreme Ownership, the two Army guys, SEALs, sorry, at the great book. I think it's just about basically, one of the points that they put in the book was guy goes to a company. This guy says to him, he says, yeah, these guys aren't listening. I keep trying to implement the stuff. And at some point he says, well, this sounds like you haven't really led them very well. And, kind of bruises the guy's ego. And he's like, listen, I've done this. I've talked to these people. They're not listening to me. And the extreme ownership is pretty much just owning up to things that the reasons why the failures, because if you're the top, like you said, the top up, everything moves down from you, then you need to convince all these people. So it's your job. There's an ownership to this thing that you have to do. And how you go about that allows people to want to follow you. So if you're always stepping on necks, people feel resentful after a little while. Or Absolutely. If they've been in these other jobs where that's what they've been dealing with, they just keep hopping from one job to another because they just, there's a burnout rate after a while. You may not get as much as you want out of them, and your success rate in order to get the thing that you need to get done may not get done because you haven't challenged yourself to find a better way to communicate or whatever it is that you do. So it's this idea of ownership, of owning up to what it is that you need to do to lead. And I found that really, really powerful as part of the reason why I kind of got into this thing about, you know, leading and being more, a little bit more compassionate in this business world, because I think there's so much other stuff going on and people have so much going on in their lives. Not that people shouldn't be aggressive when they're at work and doing things, but there's just a little bit more room if people just took a little bit more time to be like, hey, let me see if I can say something different or do something different to help this process along, versus you fuckers get this thing done right now, or you're going to be finding yourself in another different situation. You know what I mean? Not under certain. I'm not saying everybody's saying that in so many words, but you know, that just seems to be the main threat, to become the top dog. Like, that's scary for a lot of. I see people are like, you know, they got kids, they're trying to go home and whatever, and they're trying to do right by this business so they can at least keep their job. But you said like these young millennial guys, like they're like, you know, they ask you, what are you gonna, which comes back to a couple of other things that we can get into another time. But they're like, well, what are you gonna do for me? You know, like what's the what's the environment here at this office? Like, you know, do you guys have slides? Do you serve coffee in the morning? Like, I know there's all things. I'm just being an asshole, but I mean, no, I mean, in all seriousness, people want to know what the environment's like, right? Like, you leave a big corporate company, and the what's the word, the culture, that's the word I was looking for, the culture of that place that you left from is not what you want to go into. And so you ask about these things because they just seem, people keep asking about what's the culture of this company. Like, I hear it in Silicon Valley. So you always hear people saying, you know, what's the culture like over there, right? Like, it's not even just about what they're working on, it's about what the culture is. Like, how are people getting on? Like, what's the environment like? You know, that's what they want to know about. They almost don't even want to know, you know, how long it takes to do a project or whatever. These guys are like, I'm talented already. I need to know that when I get there, I can get what I need to get done, and I'm not going to be overstressed, even though I'm going to put in those 40 hours a week for you.
Or less.
Or less.
I had a dude tell me, yeah, Greg, I hear all that you're saying. And don't take this the wrong way, but I don't respect other people's experience.
Wow.
What do you mean? You know, my first response was, and I didn't say this obviously, and my training that I was taking in emotional intelligence and mindfulness helped me present.
I bet it was a good course to take that day, son.
And listen and get a check in, and
you bet to that me.
You know, and not to be in the box towards someone and think of them the way I think of myself. And if I was saying that to someone, what would I really be trying to say? And so I just stop, and you know, then you have your mom in your background. You know, she's trying to then play her mind tricks on you. So I said, "What do you mean? Talk to me about this. What are you talking about? Why wouldn't experience be valuable?" So, well, you know, it's great for someone else to have experience, but I don't really value other people telling me what to do, even if it's what's worked in the past. I almost, and this is a fault of my own, I almost have to kind of do it myself.
Right.
All right. So if I have to think about this guy taking and making some decisions, how can I find a way to enable him to make some decisions and do like a discovery learner path without going completely off the rails? So I give him some small things and then bigger things and bigger things. I'm never saying it to him directly, but just helping, just understanding that no matter what you say, there is a portion of the next generation that have been told this all the time. This is what you have to do, and that's what you have to do that, and you have to go into this career, and you have to. Right. And as like a leader, you're just another person saying the exact same thing until you can get through and get back to the, well, what do we want to do, and what do you want to do, and how can we get there in this job? And it turns out he wanted to run his own business. And the thing, so I treated it as if it was a venture capital pitch. So I said, if you were pitching this, and if I was a VC, and you and I both watch like Dragon's Den and Shark Tank and all those types of things, so it's not outside of the realm of possibility for someone to think in the mind of a venture capitalist, and simply say, well, if you've never done these 5 things, it'd be really hard for you to run your own business. Have you ever priced a product? No. If you were to do like a business case to justify its spend, no. Okay, so let's just work on that. Let's give you chances to work on that. Let's do the support package. Let's create a product. I'm just creating something out of the blue with value to somebody. Let's take this support product that we can sell as a managed service, so you don't pay something up front. You can pay a little bit every time. How would you structure it? Here's some information. Here's some research. Here's what I did before. Here's what others are doing. And then do your own research and come back and let's put something together. And he was much more effective than me simply saying, thou shalt do. So this next generation, stepping on throats is like seven steps beyond just the first step of treating them like fucking humans.
Right,
and giving them the chance to kind of learn and not just treating them like a piece of shit.
You know, we need a show called Jamaican Shark Tank.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna make this Dutch pot out of some cans. You're like, wow.
Or Jamaican startup.
Yeah, Jamaican
the CEO
startup.
is like the whole leadership team is straight from Jamaica.
I'm just gonna tell you that when walking the streets of New York, some of the most prolific, very forward people that work in New York are island people. And I've caught a couple of times where this one time I had called Elizabeth. I told her, I'm like, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. This Jamaican guy's in the middle of the street with these two other Italian guys, and they're obviously working on something engineering wise in the building. Something to do with the fans and all. And he's like in the most analytical engineering talk, but with the most street yard accent you could come up. Yeah, man. You don't see that the wire them come up from here and the positive and negative thing. If you do that, then the cold fish it will not work. And he's breaking, and I'm standing on the corner, and the light already done changed, and I should have been across the street, but I couldn't help myself. And I was like, this guy's just breaking down the whole system in a way I've never heard. But he's like bossing up, and these guys like are just like enamored listening to him. Just, you know what I mean? Like, and he's forward, and he's like, "This is what we're gonna do." And then the guy, well, what about this? He goes, "No, man, that's not working. You're gonna sit here all day, and I'm not sitting here all day. We're gonna work in it." And he's just, and I'm there for like, I sat on that corner for like 8 minutes, and the guy's talking. They're talking back and forth, and he's just leading the whole thing. And I'm like, yo, this is the best. This guy's just the engineering guy, and they're just like listening to him, like, yeah, okay, all right. Well, what about this? And he's got an answer for everything. I've seen island people, and like no matter where I go, I've seen island people do some incredible things. Like the time I was in the airport in Jamaica, and I came in, and I had the statue that I was going to take, and some Jamaican dude jump out from out of nowhere. Yo, boss, you know, you can't travel with it like that, you know. I was like what? Like, nah, yeah, you can't take the statue on the, like, they're not gonna. I'm like, well, I was gonna get them to try to box it here. I guess he goes, is that hold on? He goes, I said, oh, okay. So I'm standing there, and I'm like, where's this guy gone?
You get catch one.
My guy goes behind some. Now, mind you, I'm in an airport. How come this guy has security ways to just go into some back corner somewhere, comes back out with a few pieces of box, his cutlass, starts carving out the pieces for the legs and the body and the face and the head, had this thing strategically wrapped up, ready to fly. And I was like, what the dude, I was floored. I told my mom the story, and she looks at me like, yeah, that's just what we do. I saw it go. That's what we do. Like, like, why are you surprised? Type of look on her face. Second time, coming back from, sorry, I'll make this short. Coming back from Jamaica this year, we're going back to fly home. Bus breaks down. Doesn't break down. There's a flat. The guy pulls to the side and says, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, but the tire is flat, and we've called another bus, and it should be here in about 15 minutes, and we're going to change the tire, and hopefully we'll be on our way, and da-da-da. white couple behind me, a couple other people around me, these French guys in front of me, like, oh, this is gonna take forever. We're gonna miss our flight. This is like, oh my god, we're gonna miss our flight. And I'm like, guys, just cool. And she's like, you sure? I'm like, the guy keeps talking. I'm like, don't worry, they're gonna be here in 15 minutes. And the guy's like, how you sure? How sure are you? Like, you're like, this is what they do every day for a living. This ain't no thing. They're just trying to lie to you so that you feel better. 15 minutes. My guy has not only got two guys coming to take the tire off the other car, off the other bus, but have another bus ready and moved all the bags into the other bus and get us there on time. And by the time they fixed, put the bags in the other bus was almost ready to go with the other tire. I was like, what?
Wow, I wouldn't have thought that. I would have been worried about the time.
But my mom, like,
we work on North American standards, man. That's why.
I was already supposed to meet somebody at the airport for my mom to give her some stuff, some cream and some, like you bring stuff for people. And I didn't get to see them. I said, well, I'm going to be at the airport. So I called him. I said, listen, and her guy drives in the sim. Like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And she goes, oh, don't worry. Let me get you there. And hung up the phone. I was like, she knew it. I kind of knew it. The bus driver definitely knew it. I mean, these guys could start a whole... If you want to talk about Hustle 101, there's a book that we could write, seriously.
In the vein of, we talked about doing like a story minute or something. Yeah. I'm going to start taking notes. And one of the stories I'm going to have to talk about is working with Digicel.
Oh, wow.
And you're talking about like the Caribbean mentality. I'm going to have to tell you the story about Digicel. I'm going to write that down. That needs a proper plan.
That needs a proper plan. Okay, cool.
Yo, every time I drive from Mobay to Kingston, every time I'm in the island and we go before we hit the highway, right? So before the new highway, be up in the hills and blah, blah, blah. And you see people walking and talking on their phone, their Digicel phone.
Yeah.
And it's running. And I'm like, yo, how come I have my phone in Barhaven? I can't talk.
Dude.
You feel me? Like, I'm like,
yeah,
there's something wrong with the setup.
Something's definitely wrong.
They're way up in the hills using their phone. And you see, I look over, there's a rum shack and then, buy minutes here.
Yeah. Oh, the hustle for buy minutes here everywhere on the island. Like,
but it's like a little thing and like way up in the hills.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I come back home, I go to make a call.
You're like, drop call.
It makes me so vexed, guy.
Okay, so listen, because we're running late, let's take a little pause and we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about Jay-Z and 444 and the concert, and get everybody's opinion on that and a couple of things. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So, Jay-Z, 444, the album dropped this summer. The tour came out this season. Just I don't know if you got to see it, Duane. No,
I didn't get to see it.
You did not go to see
it. You dry snitch on me, man. I had to choose one. It was
this guy. I choose you to talk about because you Jay's biggest fan. So a couple of things I wanted to talk about was, have you guys both heard the album?
Yeah,
I've heard parts. I've heard the
holy smoke! You need to hear
the whole thing now.
Videos. The videos are like movies.
Yo,
this guy.
He needs to mute his mic.
Yeah, we're just gonna mute him right now. Okay, so Greg, what songs have you heard? Have you heard the one with Damian Marley? That's pretty big.
And there was one that was in response to Lemonade. I heard that one.
Yeah.
And then this was because one of the guys in the office was like, and he's a Jewish guy. He was hating on this one song because he was talking about Jews.
Oh, you mean his the first track, the first record that he brought out, which was Still Nigga. So okay, I unpacked that with a few of my friends, one who also happens to be Jewish. All Jay-Z said was, and listen, I get it, because people start doing some dumb shit as soon as you start saying, Jewish people had some money or they saved or they're being frugal or anything like that, because they will turn it into they're taking all our stuff, and then there's like Hitler. It rolls that fast. That is true. But what is not true is people, if you don't live in New York and you don't realize what's going on, people who live in New York, who've lived around people who are black and Puerto Rican, this and that, if you go to where Marcy is, okay, I challenge anybody, go to Marcy, cross over the train. It's not far. It's right where Williamsburg is. You're not gonna get robbed or none of that stuff. You're gonna be fine. You get off that train, and everything borders with each other. Marcy Parks, the very well known area where a lot of Orthodox Jewish people do business. They all live in the same neighborhood on the same blocks. What those guys have done over time in Williamsburg have bought up little businesses and areas and buildings. And what Jay-Z is saying is, do you know how much money I had back then that I could have done that? And it's true. If you look at over where Dumbo is, I remember where Williamsburg, nobody was buying anything over at Williamsburg back in the days. I was buying over the thing where Dumbo is. It was like all warehouse area. It was like places where they're dumping bodies over the river. They're like, nobody's here right now. Just throw this body over into the river. You know what I mean? Like, I'm super exaggerating partially and not, but he's saying these folks work hard and they took their money and put it into something else. And he's saying we need to do the same thing as people of color, black people who want to move themselves up in New York. They don't own, like, a lot of these guys were saying, World Peace was saying that the other day. He was on a podcast and he was talking about how these guys are fighting over blocks, and the same thing that Jay-Z says, and you don't own the block. What are you fighting over, right? He was saying he wanted to buy his mom's stoop, and the guy wouldn't let him buy the stoop. All these ball players who have all this money can't buy a stoop because they don't want them to buy up the neighborhood. So he was like, well, I should have just bought another block, but I didn't. Right? That's all these guys are saying. Nobody's saying anti-Jew anything. Nope. My godmother's Jewish. Right? I ain't saying nothing. Those when Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest stories I ever heard, and it stuck me for a very long time, when he went down to Florida, when they wouldn't let Jewish people here and black people here, it was Muhammad Ali that put money into it was an old age home and helped some people, gave them some money. They needed some help, and he's Muslim. So I don't want to hear any of that stuff from people about that's a divisive type thing. And I get it why people will be sensitive about it, because there are people who will use it and say Jewish people did this and they did that and blah, blah, blah. That's not that case. When you live in New York and you live in that area, you can see, how people move in that area and how it's changed in the neighborhood. But those folks have been there since time. And Jay-Z lived around them the whole time. And he's saying to himself, man, I had so much paper, I could have bought those blocks too. But I didn't. That was a dumb thing.
These guys were simply saying, I'm going to paraphrase, making associations between Jews and African Americans, and in a negative context. Like, I couldn't buy this, but this guy had it and he wouldn't sell it to me. And how come they own all the stuff? And when his reaction was, well, what about our plight to get where we had to get to? He's not he's not actually anywhere near New York, and he's a millennial dude whose parents are Jewish, and he just is in the religion. He was brought up in the faith, but he was saying, our people had to go through a lot to get to the point where they were able to buy a property, and to be able to buy a property and make a living and make some decisions. And a statement like the quote in that Jay-Z made, if you take it at a surface level, it says it almost minimizes the fight of the Jews previously, was his position.
I get it, but if you of the street and you're looking at poetry and what he's saying at the moment, if you want to, and it's the reason why he says it the way he says it, he wants you to dive deeper. He wants you to come to him and ask him a question. You think Jay don't know? He's a New Yorker. He knows controversy. He knows the environment of what's going on with the Cheeto chief in charge is in charge right now. So he knows how people are going to turn things around. So of course he's going to say it the way he says it because he wants to start a conversation. And he knows where he lives and he knows what he's seen. And he's saying that I should have personally, not against anybody else, put my paper together like how these good folks have strived through their whole life, come across the sea when people didn't want them to come in boats and didn't come go get them when the concentration camps and their plight is real. So is ours. And he's saying the same thing. We should have bought up our neighborhood when we had a chance. All this money floating around with drug money and whatever, everybody, the U.S. was built on a lot of early crime, so a lot of people made a lot of money and bought a lot of buildings. He just didn't, and he's saying he should have, just like his neighbors did. So I don't know what people were thinking, but people love to like start some negative talk about some stuff. I get it. I understand why they would feel a ways about what he said if you take it out of context, but in context, that's exactly what it is. Nobody's saying anything bad about Jewish people, period. This guy has worked with all kinds of people. You're not going to get that from Jay. It's not going to happen. Good luck for that.
But how you started that was if you've been in that area and if you understand street poetry, and the 24-year-old Jewish kid in Toronto doesn't.
I mean,
so by default, they're not going to be able to get the nuance.
It literally is. It's almost regional, cultural. Like in that particular area. Like if you live in a certain area, like if you live in East Harlem and you talk about, Spanish Harlem or whatever it is, and there's certain things that you hear and talk about, and if you're not living in that area, or know certain people or know the way certain things go on, you might take it a certain way. It's the same thing in Jamaican culture. You might hear somebody say something, and then you're like, "What? What did he say?" And you're like, "Well, it's not really like that." But you see, because they lived in this area, and these people lived in this tenement, and because they said this is how they say it. So they don't mean anything by it, but you know what I mean? It's colloquialisms. It's all kinds of different things. So I get it. Why he has no association to what he actually just said because he didn't dive deep enough. Or didn't want to. When somebody says something almost slightly offensive, I want to know why he said it, or maybe I need to dive into some history or something. Maybe he said something and I missed it. I'm not going to take offense right away. I don't take offense to everything Donald Trump says. I just know how to read it between the lines. You know what I mean?
Oh God, what did Donald Trump?
No, I'm just saying when you're dealing with people who say something to provoke an ideal or something, you know that they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah,
right? Some of it for good, some of it for bad. But there's a provocation there, and it's for you to like, well, why would they say that? And what's the truth behind that provocation? Is it just so you're spreading fake news, or you're actually saying some smart facts, right? So,
I'm the first one to say that 99.9% of what do you call him? Something Cheeto?
Yeah, the Cheeto in chief.
99.9% of what he says is gibberish.
Yeah.
But there's that small percent.
Sure.
Like if you actually listen to it and dive deeper, right? There's a smidgen of truth to it. A smidgen of, oh shit, all right. Like it's a legitimate observation.
Yeah, but fam, you could legitimately draw up all kinds of things on people if you want to. You know what I mean? Based on some small truths, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is what it is.
At the end of the day, like the Cheeto in chief, I love that.
I like that one.
That's my that's the joy right there.
So, Duane, what do you think of the album?
I loved it, but it's one of those things. I buy specific. There's specific albums and specific artists I buy without hearing.
Yeah, I was going to say you're predisposed.
Yeah,
no, but not
in a bad way. It's just that's what it is.
No, I
mean, you could rate a different album, different ratings, right? Like once you're a fan, like it's like that's like with me with KRS-One. I hold him very high, and it's almost like he can never put something bad out, even though he has. I'm still gonna listen to it. I'm still gonna support it, but I know where to rate it at the end of the day.
Yeah. So when I don't subscribe to Tidal. I would. I won't Shopify it. I'm sorry,
Why?
Spotify.
What do you have against Spotify?
I don't know. I'm not. No, it's not going to happen.
Just randomly?
Just random.
All right.
But I don't subscribe to Tidal. So when his album came out and people were like reviewing it and talking about it and this and that, and oh my God, you got to hear this or that, I had to hold off. I held off for probably, I think it was about a week.
Yeah, it was just long for you because I kept, I'm like, yo, you listen to it yet? You listen to it yet? You listen to it yet?
Right. And I purposely stayed off of YouTube. I wanted to experience it and listen to it for myself when it came out, like from top to bottom, and then kind of penetrate what he's saying. And then when I listened to it, like after the first time I listened to it, like I had it on repeat for about 2 weeks. That was the only album I listened to, 2 weeks. And, it was dope.
Yeah.
It was dope.
I mean, it's really deep, like like I know everybody keeps using the word vulnerable and they're like, it sounds cheesy and soft, but it's not. You get to a certain age, like he already told, he had American Gangster where he kind of dove back into his early dope days. He obviously doesn't live that anymore. And then, he comes out with another album that's kind of falls in between just art and bangers and stuff like that. And, super group of Timberland and Pharrell and, and he's got, Rick Ross on the record, like he's doing all the right things to kind of like still be in the mix of what's happening now. Then it comes out with that record with Khaled, I Got the Keys, which sounds ridiculous. I mean, he just bodies the whole record. He goes quiet for a while, and then 444 comes out, and a whole other Jay appears, and you're like, what? And you feel like, I don't want to liken it because I don't want to be like the old head, like, oh, it's original back to real hip hop. I like a lot of different types of stuff, but this was really a smart, mature album produced by one producer. No ID is like one of my favorite producers who never got the kind of accolade he should have gotten or still did. But I mean, obviously he's getting it now, but just on the level of who he is as a producer. And you hear the samples, the stories behind how they put the records together. Again, the yacht influence on it with Damian Marley and the whole bam bam rhythm and like the video that goes with it. It's like, I mean, if you haven't seen it, Greg, you got to see that video. It's cool. They go back to Jamaica and it's more of like a docu than a video than anything. But he does all these little cool videos and stuff like that. And you really listen to all the songs and everything has a point. And it's almost like he's giving teachable moments to like MCs and people and saying, come on, guys, you got a little paper now, like pull up your socks. Like we only got us. Ain't nobody gonna look out for you except for yourself. And, you still gotta, help out your fellow man. Like, there's still things like that, but still poetically dope. Like just still putting words together that some are conversations that don't sound like regular Jay, and other things are just like, fantastic, like, wordplay as he always does. So, I mean, I can't complain anything about the record. There's no club bangers on there except for Bam Bam, and that's it. That's still, you can play that in the club and people still love it, but it was never meant to be for club bangers. It's driving, it's, headphone bangers, you know what I mean? Or headphone music, I should say. My personal opinion.
So some context. The reason why, so when he announced the tour, I think he was in the 21st, he was in Toronto, and the 22nd, he was in Montreal.
Right.
So no Ottawa date this time.
Yeah.
So the 21st was my son's birthday. Right? 22nd, and it's midweek. Yeah. 22nd, right, in Montreal. I was like, yo, I could make the Montreal trip, but am I going to bring my son? Yo,
Yeah.
yep. If you put on the album, you put
You
on
know,
444, and
he's in it.
that, you know,
Serious?
and maybe I lose my Parent of the Year award because he doesn't say the cuss words, but obviously he's hearing them steady.
Yeah, but there's a point where a kid gets grown up. Like I was listening to Straight Outta Compton and Feel Gangster at the time. I just, like
He's
you're a
11.
parent. I
He's
know,
11.
but I was listening to some stuff at 11.
Yes.
But yes, I agree.
Anyway, there goes my Parent of the Year award.
It's okay.
But he he loves Jay-Z and he loves Kanye.
Yeah,
Right?
creatively.
You put on any one of their albums and he's top to bottom, like every lyric. Like it's
Wow.
crazy.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
So at that point I was like, I can't sneak out and go to this concert.
Yeah,
Pops,
without him I can't.
yeah,
you left me.
I can't. And then if I'm bringing my son,
yeah.
I gotta bring my daughter.
Yeah.
Because she's a hip hop head as well.
Right.
And she loves like her boy bands and this and that. And like,
Yeah, obviously.
But you
Well,
put
push it
on
like
It's a mix nowadays.
2 seconds of spring.
5 seconds of summer.
There you go.
Wow. Wow.
But so now it's me and my 2 kids going to see Jay-Z wherever I choose to go. So if it's Toronto, the 4-hour drive, blah blah blah.
Yeah, that's
But
a whole stretch.
It's a stretch. They're missing school, and we know it's a matter of, right? It's going to cost some paper to get there, whatever. Not a big deal, but it's a plan. It's a little family trip type thing, right? Or Montreal, where I might not have any connects. Take the chance. I'm trying to get 3 tickets.
Yeah.
And pay through the nose to get them. Right? Because I got no connects. I got no people like Sneak. So just hook up the tickets. Right? So it wasn't a matter of not paying. It was how many tickets I'm gonna freaking have to pay for.
Yeah. And you would have, for 3 tickets, you would have paid out, bro.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
no.
it just didn't work out.
It's all good.
I got a bucket list of people I want to see. Right? I got to see Kendrick. I got to see J. Cole.
Oh, yeah, Kendrick is going to be.
I've never seen KRS-One.
What?
Never. So that's bucket list. That's bucket list for sure. So, like, I'm gonna start going to festivals and like tracking people
people down.
Yeah.
You know what's amazing about this now is that with festivals, you I had you guys know this, but while in New York and while in Vegas, but more so while in New York, I got to see my favorite childhood guys, some of them just walking down the damn street. I mean, but to see these guys perform, like we saw MC Light for free in the park, she bodied it like she was the same kid, but she's a grown woman. Like, it was amazing. DOS Effects. We went to the Big Daddy Kane show with the whole Juice Crew came out.
That's the one I was most jealous
of. Oh my
god!
And this is my second or third time seeing Kane, and I would go see him a million times. He, bar none, is one of the best performers type of persons, and I see now why Jay-Z kind of idolized him in the way that he did, because he get that smoothness, that coolness on stage. Even if he never danced on stage, it was so dope. So when you see like Jay on stage put on, like, now, kind of that, you could, and big shout out to my man Henry, was saying that Jay-Z's, you could see Jay-Z, see Kanye's influence on Jay-Z through his stage show. Because if you look at the stage show, what Jay was doing back then to what he's doing now with the big panels and the lights and the stuff, like, it's a whole next level. That's all Kanye, and I agree 110%. But back to what I was saying, the level of, like, we're at that age now, we can get to see all our heroes at all these festivals. because I saw almost everybody I've ever wanted to see literally in one day at
Wow.
the Roots picnic. And Black Thought did he did what he did this, I mean, masterful. He did a mixtape, live mixtape. So it was like
wow.
it was like the artist would come on, they would do their thing, and it wouldn't be like pause and now I'm gonna bring up. Nope, it went like a mixtape. It was like one song and the band was playing, and the DJ was doing his thing. Mick Boogie, I think, was DJing it, and it was brilliant. Uh, you know, Craig G came out. Um, who else came out? Royce 5'9" came out. Like all guys I wanted to see. Like EPMD came out. Like it just kept coming. It kept coming. It kept coming. Duck Down, the whole Duck Down crew came out. I was like, what is going on? I got a lot of them in video, but it was like I literally saw a lot of my childhood heroes in one place in one day. That
That's-
wasn't going to happen before. That's like almost impossible. First of all, half of those guys didn't get along back then. But now, like we're at this point where you go to a park and people got their kids with them, and we were laughing to ourselves, saying, "Man, if this was way back in the day, some shit should have popped off by now." But they ain't got time for that. They got to go home. They got to work the next day. You know what I mean? Like, they're there for the show for the night. It's their night off. They got their babysitters. They're not about that life. So it's really cool to see the transition of to see all these guys all at once now, and see a Jay and see and then still be able to enjoy some of these new guys like Kendrick. Man, I want to see that guy. He's just live, man. It's amazing.
Talented, crazy talented. So the question about Jay.
Yeah.
Are him and Kanye going to do Watch the Throne 2?
So did you get to hear that podcast with him talking with his guys from Rap Radar?
Yeah.
So like when you listen to that interview, Greg, I don't know if you got to listen to it, but he basically he was like, look, Kanye and I fight like brothers, is what he says, right? And he went a little too far. He brought their kids in on it, he didn't say anything bad about the kids. He just mentioned their kids a little too much, like in the same conversation, like he's rant, like a crazy man rant. And I think Jay's had enough to be like, I can forgive this, I can forgive this, I can forgive this. I know you're Kanye, so I'm going to deal with that. But now you've gone too far, right? So I think eventually they're gonna mend that. Then they have that conversation because it's really petty. And hopefully, they do Watch the Throne 2 because that album was, I mean, the best work that year. I'm gonna try to see if anybody else can name another album that year that was better than that. I don't think so. But Kanye's working on
the
something
collaboration
masterful.
from this year was Future and people were drawing like comparisons to Watch the Throne, but it's
not the Sprite thing with Drake. That was a couple years ago. You mean
it was this year.
Future and Migos? No, not Future and Migos.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a hyped project with Future and so and so. It wasn't with Jay.
But I didn't. I've heard a couple tracks from it, but I haven't listened to the whole thing. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around Future.
So sometimes I really like Future, and other times I'm like, because when you hear him on the keys, he sounds boss. And then a couple other records with Drake, you hear him and he sound like he has that hook. He makes a hook sound really great. But other times I'm like, this sounds like the same record I just heard just before this. Mm-hmm. So there are times where I'm like, I'm dialed out, and maybe that's because unfortunately a lot of people have stolen what he is, kind of like what happened with T-Pain. Like a lot of people will steal what T-Pain did, but T-Pain can actually sing. So I kind of just chime out of those things sometimes. I'm not Future's whatever. But if a Jay-Z Kanye album comes together, you best believe it's going to be super dope. And here's one of the reasons why.
Future and Young Thug, super slimy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, super slimy. I mean, that's for the youth. So that's just what it is. There's some certain albums I'm not. Like if the record comes out and it hits me, and if it doesn't, I know it's not for me. I mean, I'm just I'm gonna be real with it. Now the project that I'm listening to right now, which just leads into the whole thing about Kanye, is the new Sci-Hi, the Prince.
Dope. Sci-Hi,
probably my favorite MC right now. Greg, do yourself a favor.
His
download that
history,
album.
His history, like
the history album that he does every year for Black History Month too.
Dope.
He did this album because his teacher told when his niece or his nephew or something like that was at school, and the teacher said, "What do you want to be?" And he said, I want to be my uncle. He's a rapper. She goes, "Oh, that's cute, but really, what do you want to be?" And so he went back home and he told his mom that that's what he said, and he put together this history album. And when you hear this history album, it's like, yeah, I kind of want to be my uncle for real, because he does this whole thing about Black history, but he also does. Just his wordplay is ridiculous, but he's from Atlanta. And you wouldn't think that Atlanta rapper in that environment for his age would be rapping like that or whatever, but he's so good. And he wrote a lot of the stuff on Kanye's Dark Fantasy. Co-wrote whatever, you know what I mean. Co-wrote a lot of stuff, like added stuff into the album, stuff like that, you know what I mean, to get the project moving. But his brilliance on that was cool. But he said, so they asked him, so when's Kanye's album coming? He goes, bruh, I've been working with Kanye for a long time. He goes, this is the first time I've seen Kanye pull out an MPC and start working and banging out beats by himself, solely just to work on an album. Because before that, he kind of like gets records from other people, and then he'll tweak it the way what Kanye would or Puffy would do and make it a really sonic amazing record. So he says no, he's gone back to the basics. He's like, and that's what his therapy is, right? Like probably what he needed. He just needed to be away from all the nonsense and just do what he's originally loved to do his entire time. So he's banging out new beats on this MPC, and people are like, yo, what? That means old Kanye's coming back before Heartbreaks in 808. Yeah, I'll take it.
Before KK.
Yeah. Before KK, he's like, don't talk to me while I'm doing this album. Just send North in. That's it. Yeah, so I'm kind of looking forward. If that album happens with Jay, I mean, we're looking at something that's gonna be
epic.
Really epic. Because if Kanye's back in like that, oh, those records are gonna be crazy. Those records are gonna be ridiculous. So I'm looking forward to that. Favorite Jay-Z album?
Oh, that's a trick question.
Remember, he's predisposed.
I know.
I'm gonna go to Black Album.
And
I'm saying the Black Album because the first time I saw Jay-Z in concert, that was
the Black Album?
It was the Black Album.
Oh, wow.
And I remember points in the concert where I could, like, the crowd was just into it. I could
feel the power.
Like me, Bubba, and Rocco were there, and I got goosebumps. Like I talk about it, I can feel it. I get goosebumps just talking about it. Like the public service announcement, when people lost it, and I
Can we say Just Blaze is genius? Everything that guy touches as a producer is amazing.
Unbelievable, man. But the Black Album, and there's a lot of like close seconds, like right behind it, and this and that. But the Black Album, for me as a fan, the Black Album.
So for me, it's the Blueprint, and I think
1 or 2.
Oh no, 1 for sure. 2 had a couple of records on there that I thought was genius, like the record with Rakim.
You talking about the Gift or the Curse?
The Curse.
Oh, you on the curse?
Yeah, yeah, because Rakim ruins it, man. He just mashes it up, man. It's amazing.
So then you're talking about Meet the Parents then.
No, wait, is that what was it? The Gift? Oh, maybe you're right.
That's probably The Gift.
Yeah, it's probably The Gift. Anyways, but no, I did like that. But no, what I'm saying is, the Blueprint.
Oh, wait, The Watcher. The Watcher.
The Watcher.
Is what
Sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
The Watcher. Boom, 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 boom. Diamond Dre's shit.
Dude.
Yeah, the Blueprint, because a couple of reasons. I got it in advance. It's pre 9/11. I'm killing this album, and I'm like, man, this is the best thing I've heard. Like everything, and it led up to the whole. I was still working for HMV. It led up with the whole drama with Nas. Like the whole thing, like just the background of it was amazing. But the samples, his rhyming just seemed to be peak, and I love Eminem's Renegade on there, which actually he bodies Jay on his own record, which is really rare.
But Eminem does that to everybody.
Every record.
Everybody.
When you get Eminem and he bodies you on your own record, it's just savage. So yeah, so that album that was and then I was listening to it a lot after 9/11. I was at a wedding in Martha's Vineyard, and I was supposed to come back that same day on that same airport where they took the planes, and I came the day before. Not that I was on that plane, but it's just really eerie for me. And then I got back home and I was working at HMV, and I was literally playing that record. And then we heard all the stuff, and I listened. That was like that record literally was my therapy the whole week. I was in the worst, not a really bad space, but I was in such a weird space because I had left that airport as well. You know what I mean? I'd switched my flights, like just all this stuff. So for me, that album is really deep, not just because it's super dope, but just because a whole bunch of other levels of stuff that was going on. So for me, it's that album for sure. Greg, any choices or songs, or not that you have to be?
Yeah, I was listening to one of mine. I actually ended up buying a lot more singles than albums.
Yeah, a lot of people did too.
Girls, Girls, Girls.
Oh yeah, I love that. That has so many different levels on there.
I had Renegade. Jigga. Jigga My N. Those were the ones that I would have played the most. But I was also at a point where I was anything that was popular, I wasn't into.
I know, because I was giving you music around them times, so you were listening to like
Thievery Corporation,
and I gave you
Chocolate
DJ
Puma,
Jamad, a lot of house
Jamad.
stuff, some more like not deep house, but it was at the time people were calling it they call it lounger or whatever they want to call it.
I was killing Afromentals.
Afromentals was getting mad love. Mad love.
So that's why Girls, Girls, Girls would have been as at that time as Jay-Z as the rest of my playlist would fit.
Yeah. Yeah, so you had like a couple selections, but you weren't diving deep at that point.
No.
Sounds good. Well, gentlemen, it's late in the evening, and I think we have time, and we have lots of parts of this episode we can use. Maybe we'll put it in 2 parts, and maybe we won't.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really good today. I think we got through a lot of cool stuff. I'm still a little jealous that you got to see
a slowdown in the last hour. You can sense everything's a bit slower. Energy levels not as high. No one was poking the other person as much.
It gets
Yeah,
quiet. And we weren't talking sports, man. It's the thing. It's
Sports, you got to really talk about
CFL
it.
versus NFL or versus NCAA. That's a contentious topic.
I could see the hashtag on the Twitter for the handle soon.
Can you guys hear when I play something?
No.
Nope. No. Is it going in your headphones only?
Yeah.
Oh, you have it.
Sure.
Oh, you're plugged into your laptop, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're not plugged into your mic?
No, sorry, I'm plugged into my mic only.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, I'm just playing my girls.
Do you guys plug directly into the mic as opposed to into the laptop?
I do.
I do. I plug into the mic. Just, as far as my headphones or whatever concerned. So it's not that it doesn't. It's not doesn't work one way or better than the other.
And Duane, I have no idea why. There's just a place to plug it in. And when I was watching some of the podcasts, the dude said, "Yeah, that's how I do it." All right.
Oh, right.
Plug it in. I'm not sure if it's better, but I guess hearing yourself.
No,
Does it mean hearing yourself? Do you sound like you feel like you sound more crisp?
I feel like I hear myself better than I would have when I plug into my laptop directly versus into the mic.
I'm gonna try it.
Let's see if I can get this thing to play.
Is it on the bottom?
It's the same area where the USB cord connects.
Yeah, I see.
So you guys can't hear what I'm playing.
No, I'm playing some Jay-Z right now.
Influence a lot of what we do, like our whole genre.
Gotcha.
Your homework, Greg, is to watch that 444 Damian Marley video.
Oh, I did.
Go to bed.
I did.
It's really good.
The video is long.
Yeah. It's just them walking through Jamaica. It's like 5 minutes.
It was 6-something.
Oh
6:13.
God, 6 minutes. That's terrible.
It's so long.
It's so long on thing.
I'm starting to listen to the
Check.
to the covers.
Which covers?
Oh, there we go.
Nelson Serio.
Oh,
I like that the most.
yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
And yeah, kinda ish. You're a little bit distant. What happened? What are you trying? What are you testing out?
All I did was I plugged the headphones in.
Yeah, you sound good now.
But I think it's overriding, like the volume is going through the camera on the laptop.
Oh,
So yes, I can hear myself through the mic. So
I see what Greg sent me. Here. You like the remix still.
Yeah, you have to listen to that one.
There's a couple of them.
So the beginning is pure cover, but then
It's all
it's a
good.
proper dub. But, yeah.
Step out and me Clark's boat. Like, what is it with Clark's? I need to find out the history of Clark's and Jamaica. There's an actual somebody has a book. There's a book out about that whole thing. I'm not sure.
I remember you tell me about it, and Kane was talking about it too. The history of Clark's. Yo, my uncle. Here's how serious they are.
Yeah.
My uncle always asks for Clark's for Christmas.
Really?
Yes.
It's that thing.
The man no one. He says, I don't want the ones made in like Taiwan or Japan.
He wants the ones in England.
So he wants English Clarks.
Oh God.
And we're like, yo, where do you think we're gonna find English Clarks, guy? Like we're in Canada. So we go on a search every year and can't find them.
Yeah, you have to go online for them.
Yeah. And yeah, you have to like import it from a store. Like
But I might as well send them straight to Jamaica as opposed to bring them here. And you can't necessarily send them straight to Jamaica. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't have to say anything polarizing anymore.
We might as well take off the live anyways.
But I put in the group chat the link to one of the covers.
Oh,
I'm not going to say you're going to like it more,
That's the one I was just playing. Did you hear it when I was
Yeah.
playing it?
The bomb.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. He's talking about Clark's. I was like, yo, what's up with man and Clark's? That's such a weird thing. I need to find out that history again and do it. All right, guys. It was a blast.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. All right. So I'll do the regular. Put together the
Drop it in
costs.
there, and then hopefully
Costs
in the
and-
next couple of days, I'll just I'll have almost everything kind of chop.
Nice.
And I got my effects thing up, so I can kind of do a few.
No, what were any comments on the sponsorship, the Lunatic Styles thing?
I sent one. I said,
You said
something like it was the absolute last letter or last word that the information even said what Lunatic Styles was or did. Like the word gear was actually the last letter or the last word. So my suggestion was saying something earlier. And then I put an example 15-second spot. Template's a wrong word, but listening when you read it, you'll listen to your podcast again. You go, oh yeah, that's how they all do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I listened to 2 or 3.
That's what I'm saying. I saw the way you formatted it, Duane. It looked like like how guys kind of format it in general, which works. And you can make it shorter or longer, but yeah, I think short and fast and having a couple of them, right? So you say like sneaky clean and promo code for this, that, the thing, and the other third.
I'd almost say that a nice long one. So yeah, the short ones are good for like beginning and end kind of thing, but something like,
so when I listen to
like what you do and how you use it and what people can do with it, and
but I think because we talk on a couple subjects, I think that whatever one or two things one or two things in the beginning, and then something in the middle to break up the monotony, and then definitely at the end just throw them all out. Doesn't matter how many there are. And then you can find us on Twitter, this, that, and thing. And once we set that up, we can reach out.
And then sponsors are used to the cost per million impressions, the CPM, for podcast to have a pre-roll 15-second, something in the 30-second to 1 minute, and then a post outro for 30 seconds or 15 seconds, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they buy.
Right.
So to the degree that we're different, that just creates why do you guys do it that way? We have to now explain.
Yeah. I'm going to reach out to those guys. So Red Bull is doing some stuff, and then obviously
you do it different because you're special.
I think we're special. But if they actually have content, so there's the sponsored content versus we just take it.
Yeah.
But if we're taking what they're saying and then we're doing the big one we're doing ourselves, then that means we have to fit what they already have into our time slots, even if we're reading it out.
Right.
But 15 seconds.
Guys allow you just to do it your own way because they're like, look, we want to make it personal. We want to make it as organic as possible. And other guys, like if you go to Gimlet has so many shows that they sponsor that they have like advertising right across the way, and they make each person who's radio trained to say it in a way that is comparable to the way their sponsor would like it done. So,
or they interview someone, like how they're using it. But I was thinking we can be completely inappropriate in that Lunatic Styles gets the best version of anybody.
Yeah, I mean, if we do like Blue Apron, we're like, Blue Apron, we wanted to do something with Curry. Blue Apron sent us this thing, and as bona fide, children of the island, we're going to test out whether this is good or not, and then we do it. And we're like, oh, this is pretty good. What did you think of it? That was pretty good. Mine had the curry, blah 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 blah. So I think those things, like when you can integrate things properly like that without making it cheesy, I think it works much better, and then people are interested.
Like if we did a curry off, so something from a vendor, and then when you make yourself.
Yeah.
And then we all three tried it ourselves and said, mine was better for this reason, but this one in a pinch, not a problem.
Yeah. That works.
Cool.
This episode is brought to you by Alan's Patties, which I'm going to have tomorrow.
Until you go to the island and get like a juicy patty
Oh
fresh.
gosh, juicy patties.
Yo.
So if you're going there tomorrow, do you want to have a quick chat with them about this?
Yeah, I definitely I'd be like, hey, we're doing the podcast. Or just love, what do you need? A box of patties.
Done.
$1.
No, I mean, like in the beginning.
No tray away.
I mean, like, and then if we're smart, we'll be like, hey, man, say our promo name, and get one patty, get one free. People love that in the trains. Why they're like, what? Get one patty, get one free. Get a promo code for some patties, man. We got to do these things, man. That'd be amazing. Or even Grace.
Oh,
Jerk sauce for Grace. We're like, we got a few bottles of Grace. Whatever. Those guys, those guys those are all those people who aren't in this space. They're not, they don't see it yet, right? Like all the other guys are getting it, and these guys aren't seeing it yet. So
they're still traditional.
Yeah,
which is both an opportunity and a challenge in that
right.
way.
No, but I live for that. Make it a challenge. Say, hey, what are you gonna lose? Just send me a box. You know what I mean? And we're gonna ship it out to people, and we're gonna do a contest. We're like, hey, we're doing a thing this summer. We're doing a jerk meet and greet jerk festival. We're gonna sit down and have the mics and talk with so and so, and we're gonna have jerk in the park, and we're gonna do a live session.
Question. When would we want to be live with anything? And the reason why I ask it that way is any Shopify or Squarespace or whatever would just be a trial to begin with that we would turn on at the right time.
Yeah.
But our trial already ended.
Right.
So we do it again.
Yeah.
So if I knew that we would be likely ready with an episode, if not a second in the bank, in the next 3 weeks, actually, even differently, when do we want to launch this thing?
Well, I
think backwards.
I feel better when we have actual 2 in the can. Like I need to go back and listen to the other stuff because there's some good stuff in there, but it was like all over the place. It's nowhere near as fluid as last week's.
Yeah,
nowhere even close to this
the
week's.
intro one is that's like I listened to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is the shit.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm saying. Like there's some good stuff in there. That's why I don't want. But there's some stuff that I need. I feel like we want to chop up a little bit just to shorten some things and just to keep.
Unless you want to do 3 episodes out of that.
Yeah, I think so. You know what I mean? Like
make it 3.
Like I said, you could do a lot of intro stuff to just to introduce people to us. So we could do some 15-minute sessions or some half-hour sessions, so that it just lets people whistle, so that they can be like. Then when we get to these other ones, it's like, okay, it's an hour long or whatever, and they listen because people listen to. I listen to like almost 2-hour podcasts sometimes. I mean, over a couple of days. So
based on what you're listening,
a nice thing every now and again when you have a 1 hour or a 1:15. And it's in, and you're like, yo, it's done already? Damn.
Yeah.
Queue up another one, so.
Exactly.
From the reviews you're doing, so now you're looking at some editing of the last one. Do you think that we have enough for 3? We're somewhere shorter than the others, but we have enough for 3?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
So then we should be recording 3 commercials, 3 sets of commercials.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, let's figure out what we're actually gonna do. Write the script and just get it done. And either one of us could just, if Greg, you should do one.
What if we each just do one?
Yeah, and just do it up on the thing and just read it as.
For the record, guys, you know what Lunatic Styles is. Like, just take what I put out and tweak it as necessary.
Hey, you see how you fly out to that?
Hey, boss. You're stepping up my neck.
Yeah.
You can do that. We'll give you feedback.
You know.
No, don't think you're gonna get out of this. You're not going home tonight. Get it done.
When I go to Duane's, I bring my belly, and usually he's cooking.
For the man who walks with his belly.
Man who walks in his belly. That's right.
Spandex.
Stretchy
jeans.
Wear my stretchy jeans. Because you know how that thing go already.
Okay, so if we each do a commercial.
Yep.
And if there's like a 15 or whatever, the quick spot, and then something a little more, and then we can reuse a quick spot, then we're good.
Yep.
Duane's got Lunatic Styles. Neeks has something.
I have
And I'll have something.
I see Nick's a big studio in Amos.
this guy.
We're just recording. You're recording. So actually, Neeks, what might be helpful.
Yep.
If you set up GarageBand with a vocal track.
Yep.
That is like all tuned anyway. So we just anything in that track is tuned. So whatever we record, we inherit.
Yep. You can just snap it together. So I'll put it like I'll put the vocals. I'll put a bunch of series of vocals, and all you have to do is shift them over and drop it in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or if it's easier, if you let us know what those settings are, then we can do it in GarageBand on our side. But it might just be equally easier to say. Duane,
I don't know no garage.
Yeah, Duane's already gone.
Right. I just played the tune.
Yeah, play the tune, awesome.
And we know where that reference is from.
Yeah.
That's a great non-song song, eh?
Yeah. Play the tune, awesome.
Okay, so if it was a single file vocal track GarageBand file, and anything that we plug in our mic to and plug into that track, that whatever settings you've applied get inherited by whatever we record. So it's automatically juice.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to do it almost, to be honest, it almost doesn't matter even if the track is there or not, because you still have to place them together. You're going to have to snap the tracks. You're going to have to snap the commercial in between things. Like, right. So if I set it up where I'm like, I made a break here. Here's the intro. I left a space for the intro. I left space for the break. I just literally made a little separation. I spliced here. I spliced here. It's basically just going to go wherever you put it, and then you just drop the commercial in between those spaces. So it's not like it's that much
commercial.
More difficult. What's that?
If we give you just the commercial,
yeah,
that you can then drop it in. The way that we get the commercial is I'll show you guys. If we do I want to do you want to use Core Audio? Yes, I do. And if our output to you is an MP3 file that you just drop in, but that we created it with all of the fine-tuned settings of that vocal track, it makes it like child's play.
Oh.
So D, I want to share my screen. Share screen. Present to everyone. So you can see my screen?
Yep.
So this was one of the episodes like super long. Yeah. So anything in this pre-roll, so the pre-roll already has like a bunch of settings and they're probably not right, but anything applied to this track, so the pre-roll, anything in this line, if I just drop something here and start recording, it would inherit all of the settings that have been pre-identified as making the most sense. And I think between the three of us, Neeks is in the best position to identify what makes the most sense. And if all we had was just this GarageBand file, none of this stuff here, just this one track, and the minute we just put our little thing in here, press record, move these other ones out of the way, and then export, then Neeks can just drop it in.
So that's easy. I mean,
unless there's an easier way.
No, there's I think that's substantially easier. I know that there's actually an easier way. I just don't know how to Delphino. I'll talk to Delphino.
Okay.
He can know how to snap it together quicker, I think.
Cool. If it's as easy as, hey, here's the three things you have to do. In this setting, turn this on to this level.
I keep forgetting that it's called grouping. So once you take a track, like it's like working on a record, right? So let's say I'm working on the beat. I got the loop going, and then I got the horns and whatever. Now you're going to add your piano to it. Then it's in the grouping, and then you can unravel that grouping and add the things and nothing really changes in terms of levels and whatever. I'm probably going to have to like just put it to like snap everything together and then do a compression so that everything is even.
Sure.
And I haven't tested that compression because I don't know what it's going to sound like from the intro stuff to the voice stuff.
Oh, because you want to do a master level across everything.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it should be okay. I usually like to kind of do it myself. But because it's not music, right?
Mhm.
Like even if I add music, we're not gonna have a problem of like everything sounds the same right now. Like I can tell even with when I listen to stuff, everything sounds even.
Okay, that's good.
There might be a part where like Duane is talking and he might be too far up. Then I just push the little blip thing up and it goes up a little bit until he's finished, and then I go bring it back down. I might do those small changes because that might be easier than just compressing an entire 1 hour
Yeah.
thing and finding out that the compression wasn't as cool in terms of making everything sound good. So I'm gonna experiment with both. That's why I kind of need like at least a week, because I know that I might experiment a couple of things and then I'll be like, I'll give it to you guys, and you'll be like, yeah, it sounds good, but it sounds really weak here. Or you're like, okay, this is like sounds punchy, perfect. Let's run with this.
So then, if Duane and I separately got our scripts together and recorded something, not to get the right audio, just to see how it sounds,
just to see how it sounds. Yeah, if
to
you
time it?
actually do me that favor, just send me some audio.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna hear. Then you send a zip. Then I'm gonna put it in, and then I'm just gonna add some but just literally just put it. I'm gonna shorten something, put it at the end and the beginning of something, putting end middle and something, and just compress it and see what it sounds like, just to see
Cool.
what it is.
And are you thinking of doing the intro or outro or the chunky ads with a musical bass line?
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use Giggs's beats, and because then I don't have
Do we
any
all have access to that?
license.
Can
I can
you,
drop this. Yes,
is there some?
I will make a folder of that. I had to ask him first before I
Yeah,
was
completely.
able to do this. And that way we don't have any problem with like getting stuff licensed. So especially the beginning and the end of the show, because that's where they do the little testing. And plus I'm going to speed up anything that I do use as a little snippet. It's going to be really short. Like if we're talking about Jay, then I'm going to put the song in, but it's going to be really short. It's just a little snippet just to kind of keep
there's
reference.
What is it, the 6 second or something?
Yeah, 6 seconds. So it'll be like a reference track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason why I asked about gigs tracks is I'm playing with the idea of doing a lifetime of minutes, where it's a series of 1 minute mini casts. They're just like some crazy stories.
Oh yeah, just like 1 minute, just every day you put them out like a daily.
Maybe not every day. I'm not sure if I have enough. I'm trying to list them to see how many I could have, but have it play more like the Chris Rock quick comedies, like the 30-second sketches over music. And see how many can get together and have that either as an Alexa skill or as the agent,
right?
Just to play with it.
And
what I was going to do is not do any kind of sponsors, just get music and get the rights to play some music. And this is not for sponsorship. This is just for fun.
I can also get some stuff that's license free. That's just like some beats, some loops that I can make on my if I get my thing on properly, I can make some loops for you, like some just beat loops with some melodies behind it. There's a couple of things I could probably use. There's a lot of
the free music archive is what I was starting with.
I have free music archive on, so I have a Native Instruments MK3, which came with a lot of loops and stuff like that. So I can just use some of that stuff already.
Nice.
So
for example, depending on the beat, when I'm talking about the guide pony walking into the stall and taking a piss,
right?
Clickety clickety clack. Yeah, exactly. Shaking your head. That's one fucked up story. That depending on the music, then clickety clickety clack, and it's really a cross between someone telling you a story and not quite spoken word, but over music.
Right. Yeah.
And depending on what track that I can play with, the clickety clickety clack.
What's his name? He used to do that 1 minute story with Stropolopoulos on his show. He used to do this really great thing with celebrities. They just tell 1 minute stories, and Fantastic.
This is just a regular dude, 1 minute stories, but I don't have a good name. So if you guys are noodling and you're taking a different route to work, and you're thinking about what, and you're thinking about
Why are you
Text you.
that?
because you're not talking, I'm bringing you into the conversation.
I'm listening.
If you're driving different locations or you're on the TTC and you've
Dwayne,
got
is
no
your
coverage,
mic? So hold on a second. Dwayne, is your mic gain on the back low? Where's your mic gain? Is it in the middle, centered?
That's low. Should it be middle?
Yeah.
is yours middle or is it just over middle? Is it just a?
I usually put mine a little bit before the middle.
Is that better?
Yep.
I can hear the difference at all.
Talk again.
2, check, 1, 2.
That sounds better to me than
Yeah.
what he sounded like.
Sounds just as good
He
as
sounded a
before.
little more hollow before that. And
then I
also,
go,
where do you have your you have yours set on the heart looking?
Yeah, it's
icon?
on the heart thing.
Just
No, this expensive
thing you better get to get in. I'm expensive.
So I have to make sure that the camera never covers this much. Check it out. See that part?
Yeah.
Asset number 1269.
Yeah.
Yep. 0016.
Everything's vocal for us anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Good point. I'm gonna stop the broadcast. Actually, we don't need to.